What's going on, Brandon?
What's up, yo? Just playing J. Cole reminded me that I could have been friends with him. It's
What?
okay though.
I asked you about that when we start the show. Here we
Uh,
go. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Black Guy Who Tells podcast. I am your host, Rod, joined as always by my co-host,
Karen.
and we are live on a Saturday morning doing some podcasting. Sunday morning doing some podcasting. And we're not alone, okay? We got comedian, producer, content maker, just all around good brother, as Stephen A. Smith would call him. You may know him from Drunk Black History. You may know him from Medium Popcorn, Niggas Spoiling Movies. You may know him from Comedy Outliers. It's my man Brandon Collins. What's going on, bro?
Good morning, everybody. Grand rising to all those that say that saying instead. It's a beautiful Sunday.
It's good to see you, my king. Oh man, how you been, bro?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I've just been keeping my head down, doing work. Writing a lot when I'm not doing the day job shit and putting together shows. I'm excited to have Drunk Black History popping back again, and yeah, man, just trying to, make something happen with this writing stuff. I've had a lot of meetings and just trying to see what's going on,
It's wild because I feel like the strike and all that labor movement stuff, it kind of slowed everything down, derailed everything. And now it's like people are trying to pick up the pieces, but we're trying to pick up the pieces in the industry that has like trimmed a lot of stuff. Like it's just so much shit, just like people. I mean, it's bad that people got laid off, all that stuff too, but like also mad projects got canceled, mad shit didn't get renewed, mad stuff that
black centric stuff too.
A lot of black
I just said it on the Patreon yesterday, actually, like for Media Popcorn, and check out patreon.com/Media Popcorn for some dope content. I just realized weeks ago, like before Rap Shit Season 2 came out, we at AFCA had done a roundtable interview with the whole creative team. And like we were talking some dope stuff. We never got the footage. We never got so they weren't even trying to promote the shit that they already have booked.
Damn.
It's crazy. Yeah, I just realized I was like, yo, they did no promo for this new season. That's why I got canceled. You probably didn't even know it was out.
Yeah, I mean, and it's like a cyclical thing because on the one hand, they don't promote stuff and then people don't watch it because it's not promoted.
Right.
But also a lot of times they don't promote shit because they already done decided like, yeah, we're not bringing this back.
Mhm.
And then it's like they use the ratings to be like, well, see, nobody wanted to see it, but there's with black shit, there's really no rhyme or reason other than just whatever they feel like it being. I think
somebody gotta like it, and if they like it, it don't matter what the fuck the ratings are. It don't matter what nobody says. It don't matter who complains. They were like, "This is my shit, and as long as I'm here, it's gonna stay on forever."
For sure.
Well, that's the thing I learned working with game theory is a lot of it's just not. It's not a rhyme or reason other than like executives make rhyme or reason. So there's people that have lower ratings, like Pat McAfee is on ESPN now, and he has like it's not terrible ratings, but he just has like
great though.
Just ratings, right?
Yeah.
But somebody somewhere is like, no, add the YouTube numbers and the download, like, and then they go, now these are the ratings, and you're like, well, y'all want to cancel something, y'all never do that. Y'all just go, the ratings aren't good enough, and that's the end of it. So it's definitely it definitely is eye-opening to see that stuff take place. And as you brought up, man, it's a lot of black stuff too that's leaving, and I feel like that is just the culmination of like white guilt has like subsided.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
George Floyd happened, and then white people are like, how do we employ black people? We need to give them money. I don't know how, but for anything, just green light every show, every podcast. And then like somebody came up with the phrase DEI or something, and they were like, actually, you know what? We should stop giving to black people.
Yeah, all those DEI, especially in entertainment, those roles were phased out. Just happened to be predominantly black women in that field as well, which is very curious, because they were probably telling these white executives like, you can't do that shit. Do you want that smoke? And they're like, it's not gonna be that bad, don't worry about it.
Right. We just gonna kill off the black character. I don't think anybody's watching for that reason.
It's like it's funny because there's this new show with the guys that did Game of Thrones, right? They have a Netflix series coming out that's I guess based on like a anime or something like that, maybe. But y'all remember they were going to do the Amazon slave show?
So okay, it was going to be an HBO slave show.
That's right.
Not even slave. It was
like a reverse slavery or some
shit.
Yeah,
it was something like, what if the South won the Civil War, and so people today would have been fighting to overthrow the Confederate government.
It was called Confederate.
Called Confederate. Yeah, it was. Now I'm famously not against this. I think
I wanted to see it.
Black Twitter jumped in this idea from the jump, just like, and then it took on a tidal wave of its own. But I know there was a black couple who was gonna helm the writing for it.
Right.
Okay. I didn't hear that.
Yeah, right. Of course not. Niggas ain't gonna tell you
they're not gonna do their research. They're gonna like
well, they just tell you enough to keep you mad. That's
right.
That's kind of how stuff works on Twitter. It's like if you start looking into you like, oh, that's how this shit got greenlit. So they were gonna have this black couple, and I went and looked up their resume because the first thing I'm like is, well, who are these niggas? Because if it's Jason Whitlock writing it, then I'm also still against it. But they had a pretty decent resume, and they pretty much are gonna have creative control over like the story. And so I'm fascinated.
I love that.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by these stories, and I think even
the alternate reality kind of things. Like
I'm fascinated by the parallels.
Yeah.
Wait,
that's the Zoom feature. That's the Zoom feature. Why is this on Crowdcast?
What's that doing?
Is there a blue button?
It's not working for me. But yeah, I'm fascinated by those concepts, and I know you, as a person that does Drunk Black History, I'm fascinated by those concepts that show the parallels between back then and now, because I think it would have been an amazing time. And God, I mean, I to be honest, to be frank, I kind of hate that it didn't come to fruition, because it would have come to fruition right as Trump took power. And I felt like that's what America was going through, was like, how do we stop this Confederate government from taking all our rights? And so I'm always willing to look at that stuff. And two more points. One, Lovecraft Country season 2 was going to be much the same. And people were very much more supportive of that idea, just because we had seen a season in execution. It was like, okay, well, let's give them. Well, a lot of us were like, let's give her a season 2. I know some people don't like the showrunner for some reason. But
I read that and I was just like, okay, but like you can still fuck with their art. Like, not everybody likes me, but they still listen to my podcast and enjoy it. It's weird.
Exactly. And like people, it's always like this double-sided thing where like people go hard on like Misha Green or somebody, and that person is the kind of person that's vulnerable enough to not get another shot. If enough people are like, I don't like her, whatever, out of jealousy or whatever reasons. But it's interesting to consider that kind of person might not get another shot, but the people that do Game of Thrones will get infinite shots. So like we'll shoot somebody in the foot that's black, being like, oh, why? And then look up 5 years later, like, what happened to her? Why she didn't get another chance? Like, well, we started a campaign of hate on Twitter to keep her from working. But anyway, so that's what season 2 was going to be. And then the third thing is, there's already a lot of shows like this, but they're just not with race. Man in the High Castle. There's also this show, Handmaid's Tale. Like, so like, I don't know why it would be off limits for black people. I feel like we just are very mistrusting because of the history of Hollywood and how things are portrayed. So I have empathy for us, but I'm also on the side of like, let's try it. And if it doesn't work, then we'll fry it when it comes out and be like, yeah, we're not watching it. But yeah, I thought that show got kind of like an early hate campaign on Twitter that stopped it from being even really discussed. It was just like, boycott this show, and people went with it.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I will say, like, from my experience, and I'm still in the industry, I'm still having meetings and everything like that. I would be curious to know how much creative license the showrunners really would have before the dudes from Game of Thrones maybe have to interject, or the studio interjects, because of the way that those executive suites are shaped. Those black people still have to explain these concepts and direction and like ideas to white people. And if they don't get it, then it's like, well, I'm not going to give you tens of millions of dollars to execute.
Absolutely. Same thing happened with what's the show? Something Gods. It used to come on like
American Gods.
Same thing happened with
Shout out to DJ Ben Hameen, who was a writer on that show.
Exactly. So I'm once again not advocating that this would be a great or perfect show, just advocating for like I was willing to see it before making a hard like, oh hell no, wait, those motherfuckers like, you know, I always thought D&D got kind of a bad rap because when the books were written, the show was good.
Yes.
And then when the books weren't written, the show was bad, and everybody's like, it's your fault. And it's like, no, that seems to be the fault of not having material. especially considering they held up an extra like 3 to 4 years to stretch it out to try to give the guy time
to write them books.
And,
it's like, we can't hold up these actors forever.
It's 2024 and he still hasn't written those books.
I was gonna say, like, he doesn't want to write them, right? At this point, like, it's just like he's doing anything but writing these stories.
Yeah. I will always forever blame him for the show's demise because I just really like I didn't mind the ending as much as other people, but I definitely that's because I was putting it in the context of the motherfucker didn't write the books. He handed you an outline and said, so this is what I'm gonna do. Man, listen, as a person that writes, that's not enough.
Yep.
If I just hand somebody an outline and be like, write 3 seasons of a show, you'd be like, what the fuck I'm gonna do with this? Like, what does this character say to this character? What are their it's like, hey man, so look, Tyrion gets the throne, such and such happens. So that's what happened. And then what I think is very interesting is a lot of the stuff that people knock them for, like being like, well, they're not very sensitive to these certain issues like sexual assault and da 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 da. And then it's like, it's in the book though.
Right.
So why are we worshiping these books at all? We should be looking at these books like, hey man, this book is like fucking rape central. Why are we making a TV show out of it if we're gonna like knock the people that made the TV show from the thing that had the source material that was problematic? So I'm not down on them as much as most people, but at the same time, I totally recognize why people are down on them.
Mm-hmm.
They are straight white dudes that when they do interviews,
they would never run a show, by the way.
Who had never run a show and exhibit all the privilege that comes with that. So like they'll be in the interview being like, first time I even saw a camera, I was on set, you know, you're like, well, I mean, how the fuck you get the biggest show of all time? And so I know that's where a lot of the resentment comes from. But at the same time, I'm not knocking them on like that, like they shouldn't work again or they're not talented or all their work will always be problematic. They kind of acquitted themselves, which is funny. But for all the knocks we have on them, they have 5 seasons worth of like, yeah, we were running shit. Yeah. And y'all were like, look at the white privilege. And then you were tuning in every Sunday for the most watched show of all time.
Yeah, they had to be. I'm sure the response is very jarring. And that's the risk you take as a creative, right? Like one day you'll be at the top of the mountain. Everyone will be cheering you on. And then the next day they'll be charging the mountain trying to kill you. Right. It's like, you know, I mean, that's just careers in Hollywood though, from everything I read. Like you have high highs and low fucking lows.
Mm-hmm. And I guess for me it's very, very frustrating that when it comes to Black and brown creatives, Black people are the hardest on other Black people, even though we know that, like Roger said, our shit getting renewed are low, odds of us getting money invested in us are low, all this shit. It's like, if people go, we want equality, but if you want equality, we ought to be allowed to do all genres, good, bad, and mediocre. Yep. We should be allowed to put shit out there that goddamn sucks and just let it exist. It's a lot of white shit that goddamn sucks to just exist, and everybody just moan about their business. But we have this excellence complex when it comes to Blackness and entertainment. Like if it ain't top grade A, eyes to the sky, excellent, and everybody in just we talk about isn't presented in a certain way, is a problem with it, and for me that's very frustrating because we Black people are 3-dimensional. We've experienced a lot of shit, and there are Black people that are rich, and there are Black people that are poor, and there are Black people that want to hear about slavery, and there are Black people that want to hear about us being Westerns. Like we want to hear about all of that shit. You know, we claim we're not a monolith, but yet when shit come up, everybody argues, particularly online, and fusses like we're a goddamn monolith, and we're not. And I think that we ought to have the right to make these shows at least get a shot, because the thing is, the white people get a shot. If it succeeds, great. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But a lot of times we don't even get the shot of the concept. We automatically come out and start moaning and crying and complaining and fussing, and then be like, oh, what happened? They don't never give nobody no chance. But sometimes we are part of the problem why the shit get canceled in the first place. And I can speak for me personally. I remember when Blackish first came out, I had a problem with the name. Me and Roger talked about it. Me and Roger got to sit down and really talk about it. He was like, no, Karen, actually analyze that. And the thing about people online, people don't analyze why their first response is to push back and to be angry about it. And just because you feel a certain way, it does not mean that art does not have a right to exist. Yeah, because that's the same thing white people do to us. They feel us out a certain way. All of a sudden, our shit doesn't have the right to exist. So, deep down, you might not think about it, but sometimes to an extent, we push the same shit the white supremacy does, and the shit just doesn't exist. Then nobody gets a show.
Yeah, it reminds me a little bit of when Underground first came out, and when it was actually first just announced. And Snoop Dogg did a video talking about he don't want no more slavery shows, and he's tired of all that. And it was like, number one, can you count the number of slavery shows that have been greenlit in the last, 50 years? Because it's going to be like Roots and Underground. Like, it's not like every year they're like, UPN, slavery. Like, right. Very rarely is this subject matter covered. Then number two, helmed by Misha Green. So, showrunner is a Black woman. Black creative that is touching this story with nuance and all that stuff. And I remember the trepidation around it, and I remember watching it and being like, oh my God, this is what this can be. Like, you can make something that is actually fucking dope and like made you, like, it was proud, but I was proud of it, but it was also just good. Like, action, intrigue, betrayal, like all kinds of shit. And it got 2 seasons, and then I think WGN got bought or something. Yep, weird like that.
I think that's why, it's funny you mentioned that, because I'm actually shopping around a pilot right now, and the feedback I keep getting from Black creatives that really like it is, bro, you should push for this to be a feature. Because I think there's a fear of like, this would be a dope show, but I don't want it to be something that ends too soon. Like everything else we're fucking seeing. And that's the truth. When you take things to, to a series versus a feature, then you have more stakeholders, then you have more opportunities to succeed and get great platforms for actors, writers, people in production, but also you run the risk of all that shit going away overnight.
I was on a panel that was reviewing Lovecraft Country season 1, and we were reviewing like the whole season. It was the finale we just watched. And I remember, and it's kind of because, one, I try to keep shit in context at all times. Like that's my big pet peeve. My hypervigilance is always like, we need the whole perspective. Let's not just like pile on something just to pile on it, right? But I remember how harsh so many people were about the ending of season 1, and they were like, it was rushed. That they could have saved some of this for season 2. They did this, they did that, and I said, okay, y'all have to understand. Misha Green, who had Underground, get chopped off after season 2. Misha Green, who y'all have kind of like shitted on in the press, and a lot of these, like a lot of Black people have not, like, I'm not even gonna say names, but people wrote in like New York Times, you can go look it up, articles that were like, the Watchmen did this right, but Lovecraft Country is doing it wrong. Shout out to the white man getting the Black history right. And it was like, man,
not even understanding Damon Lindelof and how fucked up he was to some of the Black writers and actors on Lost. Yeah,
right. So like, it's like we're just piling on this woman, right? And then when this gets to the end of the season, and it feels like they had to cram a lot into the last episode, I remember doing the review, I said, they're probably doing that because they don't know if they're getting a season 2.
Right.
And everybody's like, it's like a revelation, like, wait, what? I'm like, we live in a world where something can have the ratings that show have, the reviews that show had, and
win awards.
And all that, and still not get a season 2 because it's a Black show made by Black people that put Black people at the center of a story that wasn't necessarily like crafted for Black people to be at the center of it, right? It was a very revolutionary concept to think what the source material they took that from and with the show they turned that into. That like I don't know if people
Very
understand.
different.
Yeah, that's crazy what they did, and they had to know the whole time like we might not get a season 2, and they didn't get a season 2, and I'll always be proud of that review because I was like, hey man, we gotta cut them a little bit of slack. Like this is not a world like if that was a Succession or something, or like some white show where they'd be like, I know I'm getting a season 2. Look at speaking of, look at Watchmen, right? Damon Lindelof wrote that to be a mini series.
Yep.
They begged him for 2 years to make more.
And he said
he refused to make more. Was like, I have to tell y'all no. I didn't plan for that. Lovecraft Country, they're like, we have the entire like script in season 2 ready to go, and they were like, yeah, we don't know why we would do that. So this is the double-sided coin of blackness that we deal with all the time. Brandon, let's talk about Drunk Black History. Okay,
yes.
It's back. I feel like last time we talked to you, we didn't know what was going on with Drunk Black History.
I know. It got messy.
Yeah.
It's still a little messy, but it's clear. It's cleaning up a little bit.
Okay, well, tell the people what's up, man, because I don't want to overstep, and I'm not trying to put you in a
yeah, for sure. It's hard to still kind of articulate, but long story short is the Drunk Black History show that a lot of people are familiar with that have either attended live or like through live stream. That's going to be continuing. I'm going to be producing that as I've always have. For our upcoming show on Saturday, February 10th, it's going to be guest hosted by my homie Charles McBee, who has been on Comedy Central. He's a regular at the Comedy Cellar. He's a really funny dude from the Midwest that I fully trust with this. And you might see me pop up on stage for a few during that show. But we got a great lineup with Leclerc Andre, as hilarious New York comedian who's out here just doing the work. Linnea Wiles, who's an actor and also a realtor, doing her thing. I went to college with her, so I've known her a long time. She's great. And then we have a representative from the Lewis Howard Latimer Progressive Association going to be joining to talk about Lewis's contributions to America as a Black man. And then we got a few other surprises. It's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to be both in person and live stream on Saturday, February 10th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at Caveat NYC. Tickets are available at drunkblackhistory.com. And then also restarting the podcast, and that's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be video and audio available on YouTube and all podcast applications starting on Friday, February 2nd. Drunk Black History. It's going to be hosted by me. And our first guest is DJ Ben Hameen from the 4 Nerds podcast. We talk about Jimi Hendrix, which is a subject that's near and dear to his heart. And just a great conversation. I'm really excited to just get this ball rolling again because it's an important show. It's an important thing. It's bigger than me and Gordon and whatever we had going on. But in regards to producing and putting together a quality thing that's representative of the idea, that's where, he and I talked, and I'm taking it in this direction going forward. I have had a lot of outreach from different cities, so I will be taking the show on the road probably later this year. But yeah, to help us kick it off, I would love to see folks in the audience, whether in person or live stream, on Saturday, February 10th.
Yeah, absolutely, man. First of all, shout out to bringing the podcast back. That's dope. I always thought it was like a great concept, that would work for a podcast as well.
Yeah, we did it during the pandemic. That's when because there's no other way to do the stuff. And, once we were able to get back on stage again, we were just like, all right, let's just do the stage stuff and release that. But now that I have access to a studio, shout out to LeVaro Jones, who let me use his production studio in Long Island City. And, it just all clicked together, and I was like, this makes sense to do it this way going forward.
And you said something about you might be on stage, so are you not going to host it as much as you were hosting it before?
So here's the interesting thing about it. After I recorded my album back in September with Mike Brown, I did a double header with the Comedy Outliers brand. And the whole thing that went down with Gordon, and Roddy, you and I touched on this a little bit when we talked about someone else having performance anxiety and stuff like that. Yeah. That hit me hard this fall. For some reason, for me, I kind of lost my love of live comedy for a little bit because of all the stuff that went down with Drunk Black History. Because I was like, man, between this and other shit, I can't trust niggas. I can't stand-up comics, to be honest, are some of the most thankless people on the planet. I'm like, why am I going to put together this thing, and keep fighting for this thing where stand-up comics just are making my life so difficult, and this isn't fun, but it's important. I just really battle with myself, and I didn't want to go with this relaunch live show kind of with that emotion on my face or carry it in my body language. So I was like, let me book someone who I trust. But now as we're getting closer and closer to the show and I'm talking to more people who are incredibly excited about it, I'm like, you know what, maybe I will, but at the same time I don't want to fully commit because I've just talking about it now, I feel that anxiety, and I've become more open about the anxiety that I feel because I want to make sure everyone has a great experience. And if I feel in any way my anxiety or frustration or anything like that is visible on stage, I don't want that to hinder the show in any way. I can produce my ass off. I can just be behind the scenes for this first show. People are seeing me on the podcast, but I don't want people to get confused as well. So I'm still trying to figure it out. But yeah, man, this fall, I barely went on stage just because I was like, yo, I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling the stand-up comedy scene right now. I'm not feeling the stand-up comics in general in it. And that's why this new direction, you're going to see a lot of non-comedic folks on the panels. You're going to see folks that do radio. You're going to see experts. You're going to see economists and like just people like saw the people on the show versus just stand-up comics, because it doesn't always have to be ha 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 ha, ha double over laughing. It could also like the laughter will just come from us trying to make ourselves comfortable talking about some of these really difficult, complex people.
And like, you know, just to kind of give you your flowers and sing your praises a little bit. One, I said this on 3 Guys On too, but producing is hard as fuck. And it's the thing we all take for granted, right? Like, and you almost can't blame stand-up comics to a certain extent because it's such a cutthroat, hungry ass, like, everyone is a mercenary in stand-up.
Yes, I don't have a union.
Like, you might feel like there's a brotherhood or family, but at the end of the day, only like when someone gets paid, that person gets paid. When someone gets stage time, that person gets stage time. That's just kind of how it works. And it does kind of warp people's reality eventually to being like, look, man, I just show up, I be me, I do my thing, y'all handle all this, and then I leave. And that's the thing. Maybe I hang out after and kick it, but the general thing is like, hey, y'all are here for me, but they don't understand that there's a lot of shit that has to happen for people to be here for you. They're not really here just for you. They're here for a good time. Someone has to assure a good time will be had. And Brandon is that guy. Like, behind the stage, I was like, when I got to see it in person, behind the scenes, like the scheduling, the making sure everybody's comfortable, is this thing happening with the venue? Any problem that arises, it's like, hey, Brandon, something's going on with the drink specials. Boom, Brandon's got to go out, talk to the bartender real quick, come back. Boom, hey, Brandon, so-and-so's in the break room, but they ain't got this. Like, he was handling all this shit, and then about every 5 to 10 minutes being out there on stage like, haha, Drunk Black History, y'all, what's up? I was watching this shit like, how is he not doing insane?
Doing that stuff has made me, well, one, like, my dream has always been to be a film director. But I cannot, like, that's why I got to give flowers to people like Michael B. Jordan, Ben Affleck, like niggas that are directing and starring in movies, like, because like you see me, like, I have to switch my brain between producer to performer, and I've learned to get better at that, especially with Comedy Outliers and stuff like that. Shout out to Mike Brown. But yeah, it is challenging, but it's also something that gives me a rush. It's something that I really enjoy. You know, just thinking about that excites me, like that prospect. Like you know, that's how I know like I'm meant to do stuff like that, because when I go to my day job and I'm just working, I'm like, man, it's just to get a check. But when I do podcasting, when I do that stuff, I'm like, this is fulfilling me. Like,
you don't seem to have the performance anxiety around the production part, which to me is the harder part. Which, like, to, you know, as a person that's had to produce and do the podcast live at venues and stuff, the production shit is what stresses me out. It's like, well, shout out to the podcast that have like the financial backing and all that stuff to be like, we're going on a tour, and all that means is we're gonna show up at the venue, sit down and talk, and then get up and go home. Like, shout out to y'all, because like when we do a live show, for those of y'all that have been, we're at the venue 4, 5, 6 hours before anything happens.
We meet with sound techs. I don't think people realize this. We meet with sound techs.
First of all, hold up. We're there. Number one, we're at the venue days before, like sometimes weeks before.
Correct.
Just talking to people and be like, this is what we need. What's the lighting situation? What's all the rules?
Everything.
All that shit.
What do we need to bring? Do y'all got what we need?
Y'all got the ACA seating and stuff because we got to make sure everybody's taken care of. And then on the day of the show, we're there 6-something hours earlier, being like, and there's always some shit wrong every fucking time. It's never just plug in and be like, just like last time, you plug it in and it works. No, motherfucker.
Something always goes wrong. All the time.
New person working, new setup, new something. Yes. There was one show where the fucking speakers were doing feedback like 40 minutes before people were coming in the door. And I was like, what the fuck are we going to do? And they're just like, don't worry, we're going to figure it out. Boy.
Bro, did I ever tell y'all about our show in DC? When we booked like this library, this like public, space. Like it was very dope. It was like an art museum and stuff like that. We got there. The manager didn't know where the microphone cords were. He didn't know how the system worked. He didn't know how to put on the projector. All these things that we had pre-negotiated. Yo, we had no microphones for the show. It was a sold-out show with black people getting drunk on liquor and wine. And I had to do like the Chris Pratt Velociraptor hands at one point because it was just getting so out of control. But we made it happen. Like we had Reese Waters on that show. Like we made it happen. And like people enjoyed themselves because people like came out after the party, like for the after party. We were hanging out and shit. But like, yeah, it was like, but it was weird because no one complained about it. It's like they expected it to be a shit show. Yeah. It was like DC
like, I did say you put drunk in the title. If you put drunk in the, like you kind of do cut yourself some slack. If you put drunk in the title, people show up like it might happen. We'll see what goes on.
But imagine doing that show. I mean, thankfully it was like a black box theater, so it was pretty contained. But imagine doing that with no microphones, how much we got to project. Like my voice was gone the next day.
Oh, for sure, dog. Yeah. And like I said, so like that stuff is behind the scenes stuff that people don't even see. Like I said, the one I was at, they would keep going out and they'd be like, and we got a very special guest for the last one coming up, blah, blah. They didn't want to say the person's name.
Yeah, the Sam J.
I'm back there behind the scenes and I'm watching them when they come on stage and Brenda's like, look, I'm texting her, but she's not texting back. I think she's going to be here. She said she was going to be here, but blah, blah, blah. And then they're back on stage. Hey, Black, hey, y'all enjoy your last thing? And of course, Sam J comes on literally on time, like late, but on time.
It was like perfect timing. And it was like, it was one of those moments where I'm like, thank the Lord, because the previous show, she had said she was going to do it. We had advertised there, and then she had to literally drop out an hour before the show. So I'm like, and that's why I don't like to like always promote lineups, because I'm like, the show's concept, this is how I think it's produced. The show's concept and marketing should stand up on its own. I don't want people to come for a show just for one comic, because we learned that the hard way with Comedy Outliers when we did New York Comedy Festival. We had a lot of industry people that were like, we want comps for shit. So Mike and I are thinking, oh shit, like people might want to rep us because we're in New York Comedy Festival. We're like a headlining show, right? But then it turned out these comp people came for one comic that we had booked on the show. So like we had Dan Soder. We had 3 people leave after Dan Soder's set. We had Cypher Sounds. We had 2 people leave after Cypher's set. I'm like, now we have these empty pockets in a packed room because we thought industry people were fucking with us, but they had one specific agenda. And so we were like, you know what? We're not going to like, if I can avoid it, I'm not going to advertise lineups. Obviously, I want people who are on the lineup to be able to share it and say, oh, I'm on this dope show. But yeah, like I can't bank on those names. So yeah, I learned that.
That's why the thing with Gordon and the whole like going to festivals and stuff, I was like, I don't know if people on the outside looking in understand how important it is, because when it comes to branding, it's about the experience, as you just said. And so it dilutes the brand. If people come to a Drunk Black History and it's not what they've seen in the past, or it's sparsely attended, it makes it look like, oh, the show doesn't have any heat, or, oh, this is just what the show is all the time. And yeah, it's a struggle to try to make sure everyone understands that. Because if you get everyone on the same page, it's easier. But it's hard. Like when you're dealing with comedians, it is hard because stand-up is just so fucking like competitive. And so like, man, you just got to go out there. You just got to do your thing. Yeah. And it's almost like the opposite of planning. Like it's just get up as much time as you can. And production is the opposite of that. Production is like, no. It's better to do 3 shows a year that are great.
Excellent.
Than 12 shows a year where like 3 are great. and 9 are not. You know,
that's why I never took it monthly. Gordon always was like, "Can we do this monthly? Can we do?" I'm like, "No, man. This is a lot. This is a heavy lift." And that's where like we kind of had the falling out because he had booked this show without my knowledge. It was like we can still do it. I'm like, bro, do you know how much work I put into this? Do you know how we got mentioned in like Boston Globe and New York Times, all these things? Do you know why like people know about the show? It's not sexy to spend 4 hours posting online ads with the same fucking information over and over on different websites. Like that shit is not fun, but I do it because it's the way to get the word out, the way to get new eyeballs on what you're doing. And I said this on 3 Guys On yesterday when we were on together. I blame Hannibal, honestly, Hannibal Buress, because in New York, he had, for those who don't know, he had this show on Sunday nights at Knitting Factory where he would go up and host, and he would sometimes do like 30+ minute sets. And then even have great comedians on because he's Hannibal, and it's like the height of Hannibal's fame, right? So he would like Chappelle drop in, Dave Attell, like he would have bangers drop in. And so comics started thinking, oh, I could do my own show, be able to do as much time as I want, have my friends on, and people are just going to come and stay around. Like, it's like, you're not Hannibal Buress.
Right.
And even he, like, sometimes, like, he eventually got tired of it. So it was a very weird message that people took from that show and started applying to not only stand-up shows, but the other shows with gimmicks and other themes. And for me, like, I've always just been about the audience experience, and I have a great partner in Tatiana who's always like, I'm looking at it from an audience perspective, and like I know what you're trying to do with this thing, but it's not quite executed right. So I suggest you do these things. Like when I tell you she's a great partner, like she just sees things from a different perspective that always helps me elevate the things that I'm putting together. And so
another person behind the scenes
like
when I saw her do that work in person, because you know, like that's the thing. It would drive someone mad to have to do that by themselves anyway.
Oh yeah, like, y'all know I'm over the crazy, so
right. Like he just come out in the third act and be a supervillain fully, but like to see her like balance it out, because that's the thing I always say is like if you're in a couple or whatever, a partnership, 2 people can't panic at the same time. Like so one person takes 3 minutes to be like, God damn it, so and so's fucking up. The other person has to be like, okay, so here's what we need to do about that. And it was cool watching y'all's partnership balance out.
You probably literally saw that. You probably literally saw her panic a little bit about something. I'm like, and me instead of panicking, I'm like, all right, it's okay.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure I saw the trade off. Like something else happened. You're like, man, what the fuck is this? And then she's like, all right, my turn to be calm. All right, I'll go talk to the so and so. So yeah, that was like dope to see. Karen, what are you gonna say?
And it's a balance, because in addition to the show live, you have to deal with the online audiences, which we have to do at our venue too. And people fail to realize that is literally a separate audience, and their experience is completely different than the people in this there, which means cameras have to be right, sound has to be right, you have to be sure shit is projecting, you know, you have to be sure the chat room is running, you know, and things like that. And so like that's like a whole nother thing all by itself.
And the media that they use. So like they'll be showing a video in the venue. The people online need to see that video too, or else it won't work for them online. And so Tatiana's handling that shit and talking to the chat room and then telling the audience and Brandon like what's happening in the chat room. Like it's an amazing operation to witness in person as well.
And she also signals to me, and this is where the challenge was. And in retrospect, maybe it doesn't matter now because it's done. But in retrospect, I should have been the producer I should have just been the sole producer of Drunk Black History and just hired Gordon as the host. And that's what me and a lot of things I put together, where I'm like, I should just hire this person as my friend as the host of the show versus saying that they're a co-producer, because I think that gave people the different impression of what they do and how they contribute to the show. Because, I had a few hard conversations with Gordon, as you can imagine, saying, what you do isn't production, though. What you do is I'm just have these ideas that I want to do, and I'm just going to do them. Like, there's no rhyme or reason. It doesn't really matter what the audience is like it. Like, we had so many debates just about the pre-show music. Because he just had fucking the most hardcore male-centric rap music. I'm like, bro, we have, do you look at the audience? We have like 70% women in the audience.
Right.
They don't want to just hear Nutcrazy Buck like constantly. Like, what are you doing?
Well, I also wanted to say this too. What you're doing with Drunk Black History, the thing I've always loved about it and respected about it is the consideration for the audience, because I think you understand this, even if I haven't heard you like articulate it or whatever, but or maybe you have, and we just haven't talked about it in fact person. But it's this, the idea is it has to be laughing with and not at.
Yeah.
So you can't have a show like this that is a show that is like, hey, white people, come laugh at us talk about Black history. It has to be a show that's like, Black people, we're laughing together, we're learning together, we're healing together, and we're having fun with it in a space that anyone can come into this space, but it is our space first and foremost. And the sensitivities have to be served in that way, because it is so easy, especially in comedy. It is so easy to lose the plot with race shit. And the next thing you now you're Chappelle in the Bumblebee costume, getting ready to go to Africa, because you're like, damn, what? At some point I fucking lost the plot. It's just like white people coming to laugh and you say the N-word, and that's not the comedy that I'm doing, you know?
Well, I also want to make it a very welcoming environment for everybody too. Like I like, occasionally, because I like to play the angle of like, I don't know anything, even though I know the most probably on stage, to make it accessible for folks that are, especially Black folks that are in the audience that legit don't know what we're talking about. Like Sundown Towns, I had to play it up like, what is this? Like, because I want the person in the back that maybe is like, shit, should I know what a sundown town is? Like, how do I not fucking know? Like Lovecraft Country, Green Book, that's what that was about, to make it accessible. And I've had brothers come up to me and say, thank you so much for being like that guy, because I didn't know. And I was like embarrassed.
And you kind of need that, number one, but then also number two, it puts you in a precarious position, because at any point people, it's like, I'm blacker than you, nigga. I know all the shit, and it's like.
Well, plus that's I'm used to that. I'm used to that growing up in Ann Arbor, Michigan. But I'm used to that shit. But
it's like tough, you know, to navigate that line, because it's like, nigga, I wrote the 17 pages that you read that gave you the facts that you are saying on stage. So like, you do a good job, and I think it works if there's trust and it's funny and it's love, and that's why that dynamic works, where you can go up there and be like, Sundown Towns, and everybody's like, oh, Brandon.
Well, I also I want to shout out two. I'm going to shout out two things. One is I want to shout out producer Yuvia Gillum, who produces Media Pocket, but also does the research for Joe Black History, because that's just a lot, and I trust her, and she's the one that gives the research for all the people, like, and the topics and stuff like that. And that's why I was like, to go here, I'm like, bro, I got like a team. Like I got structures. Like, it's not just me like putting this shit together last minute, you know what I mean? And I want to shout out, like, you know, your audience, the people that have just been rocking with me for several years, and the different things I've done, because those are the folks that are in the audience during these shows. When I do things like that, they're like, oh, that's Brandon. That's Brandon playing like this angle. Like, they know that's not, fortunately, even though I say some crazy shit, I've been very surprised by how many people know that I'm smart. How many people are actually like, oh no, you're a smart dude. You just say some wild shit.
In order to, like, I think it's hard for people to necessarily conceptualize, but in order to play the buffoon, you kind of have to be the smartest person in the room. Because a fool that is only a fool, they don't know the line. And they're gonna fuck up eventually. We all know those people who are like, I'm just here for the attention. And then one day they're like, and go Trump. And you're like, oh, you're just a fool. I thought you were smart.
You're just a fool.
You know, like, no, like, I'm gonna say this name, some people gonna get mad, but it's like Sexy Red to me is the like epitome of the attention economy. Like, and this isn't to say she has no talent or whatever. I remember when she was making that song about the parody of 1,000 Miles, right? And I thought that was so brilliant and so funny. But then when she's saying like, and Black, we love Trump, and I'm like, oh, you'll kind of say anything for attention. It's I'm pregnant and I'm still making pussy songs, and you're like, cool. I is it brilliant, or is it just like I'm a provocateur and that's just what I am? That's not if y'all like a provocateur, I love it. I'm not knocking y'all for loving y'all provocateur, but the point being, there's a difference to me between like brilliance and craft and just like I'm here for attention. And I think navigating something as sensitive as race and Black history, you've been able to do that in a way that's not just I'm here to get attention. It's like no. We have to be intentional with this.
Yeah, I mean, when we first started it was very much like it was a party, kind of like, and we're just talking about Black history. But then, you know, I listened to my wife, and she's like, "You guys are getting too drunk on stage. Like, the guests can get drunk, but you're getting too drunk. Like, you guys stay focused." And that was after the second show. I was like, "You're right." And so that's why I started moderating very specifically so I can give the impression that I'm getting buzzed with the person. But I'm there for the safety net in case they like look at me like, I don't know what to do. I remember, I'm not going to say the comic's name, but he was kind of being a dick to me. And halfway through his time on stage with us, he blinked. And he sees all these black people in front of him, and he had said some provocative shit before. Like, I think if you've been to Drunk Black History, you saw the recording, you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And he looked at me. He didn't look at Gordon. He looked at me like, nigga, what am I supposed to do? And that's when I was like, well, the wild thing about this person is they did this thing. And he was like, oh yeah. And then like he was able to keep going. Right. I'm like, see, like you were talking all that shit, and now I'm saving you because you know these black people are like, what's this crazy nigga gonna say? Because I'm not sure I like him.
Right. It's like drunk black. It's like a drunken boxing style, right? Jackie Chan doesn't actually show up to set drunk. If you want, like in those movies, the drunken boxing comes from the fact you're not drinking, you know. So
he's not pulling a Denzel in Flight. He
exactly like. I don't even know what would actually happen if Brandon got legitimately like so hammered you couldn't do this. Like someone else needed to take over the production of the show for the rest of the show. I don't even want to know what that looks like.
It would be a problem. I remember we did one show, I think it was on the virtual show, and Gordon.
Oh, no, he passed out.
Gordon had like a bartender, somebody in the background.
He had his girlfriend. It wasn't even a bar.
I was like, okay. But so when that happened, I was like, oh. Okay. Man down.
Right. There's no way to reach him. He's not answering his text. He's just passed out on video while Chris Lambert's trying to talk. Chris is drunk too, and I'm just over. I'm the window trying to like control this shit. People in the chat like Gordon dead and all this stuff, and I'm like, it's funny. It's funny, but once it goes past like I think like the 1 minute mark, then it's like, all right, now this is a problem. Now this is distracting from what we're here for. And so those are the things that, to be honest with you, like now that I kind of have full control over the brand and everything like that, I feel like I can finally execute the vision that's all about the audience. That's all about like the people having a great experience. And I think with that, it's going to allow me to have a bigger platform. It's going to allow the show to have a bigger reach. And that's what incredibly excites me, but also scares the fuck out of me. Because this is an incredibly important show. Our history is constantly being erased. We're literally watching governors of states erase our history. And so this show is even more important than ever, but also makes it more dangerous than ever.
Yeah, when y'all go on tour, like y'all might get banned from some states. Like, y'all go to Florida, they might be like, "This is woke DEICRT. We can't have y'all. We can't have y'all talking about this shit. This didn't exist. What do you mean? Is this a show about happy slaves and how they loved it?"
Well, that's why I would say, folks, go to drunkblackhistory.com, sign up for the mailing list, because I thought of an alternate plan for that ride. Because I have had a few people reach out to me, especially in southern states and stuff like that. But it's not always the southern states that are fucking crazy about it.
I know.
But I have a plan for how to get the word out about the show where it doesn't raise suspicion in marketing. So that's all I do is if I'm not writing or reading things that give research to the stuff I'm writing about, I'm just reading about marketing. That's all I do. Like, and so that's when I'm like, I'm a different person when it comes to producing. I've been doing this since high school because I was trying to hold on to my popularity, and I put together what I wanted to do. I put together essentially an SNL show in Ann Arbor, Michigan, because I was like, I need to stay popular. I need this right now. And niggas like don't understand when you're in high school and you become like one of the most popular kids in the school after being a fucking nobody, like the drive that you have to do whatever you can to keep that. That like then I did that for producing, and I was like, oh, I love this shit. Like this is amazing. Yeah. Like you can't compete with me on that.
And shout out to Yuvia, because
she's great.
Yuvia, if Yuvia would have been like a hotep or conspiracy theorist or something, who knows what kind of
research would have been so funny.
We would have been up there quoting Dr. Umar and shit, you know. No. Well, you know, first of all, Brendan, there's no gay people in Africa. That is a white supremacist situation that only occurred once we got to America. Okay, so and why I got to wear a dress? Like, it's like, oh shit, what is this show? Everybody's just getting up, walking out, you know.
Shout out to Yuvia. She's great. But for the work she does in Media Popcorn and Drunk Black History, she's just such a reliable person. She reached out like out of nowhere. Like, I'm a fan of what you do. Like, I would love to work with you in some capacity, and that was years ago.
Damn, that's dope, man. We love to see it. And also, of course, medium popcorn still going strong.
Yes.
You know,
I
gotta
switch over to Eddie. I gotta switch over to Eddie Collins now.
Okay, Eddie, what's the last movie you watched?
That's a good question. Last movie I watched was that Mahershala Ali, Julia Roberts movie that's on Netflix about the end of the world.
Yeah,
we watched that last night. Yeah, we watched that last night.
What'd you think?
So Sam Ishmael, who like did Mr. Robot and stuff, he's kind of turning into a one-trick pony. He wants to be David Fincher so bad, I think. And that script was really weird. It felt like it was like almost like a play at parts. I don't know. There were some things that were just like a little off about it. Like I'll have to really think about that movie a little bit more because we literally ended it like I would say 9 hours ago.
Okay.
But yeah, it was. I mean, the opening with the oil taker, that was pretty fucking intense. That was cool.
Yeah.
But I wish the whole movie had been like that versus becoming like this weird green screen. We're kind of talking at each other and like talking about all these different themes and hitting a little bit too on the nose. So it wasn't my favorite, but Mahershala Ali, man, talk about a guy that has incredible presence, incredibly attractive dude, and just understands the assignment. No matter what he fucking does, he is the real deal. And I hope that they figure out Blade. But there's a reason why he's a 2-time Oscar winner. Like, there's an absolute reason for that.
He's a beast.
He's crazy, man.
I watched that movie. I ended up loving it, honestly.
Okay.
It was definitely weird and all that stuff, but it was, I don't know, maybe it's the day I watched it or whatever, but it was just weird in the ways that I thought hit at the themes and that we're living through right now. And especially like distrust of each other, and then the lack of like shared facts and shared information, and how that is a destructive to society.
Yeah.
And how we're raising a generation of kids that have no choice but to be like, I just gotta look out for myself because you motherfuckers have put me in a situation where community does not exist. And the lesson I'm taking from this is leaving the world behind because you motherfuckers are crazy. So I did like those themes, but there's a ton of stuff in that movie that is just like, wouldn't it be crazy if this happened? And that stuff is super wild. I know it's all based in something like in some rabbit hole conspiracy shit of like, it's a sound you can hear make your teeth fall out. But I don't.
Yeah, Kevin Bacon's character was so over the top, like MAGA, like conspiracy theory, like because we're like,
I don't live in that world. So like when they were doing certain stuff in that movie, I was like, what's the basis for this? And then like afterwards, I would see reviews and stuff where people were like, people believe if there's going to be a cyber attack, it would happen this way. And I'm like, oh, that's what that's about. Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, this isn't really a spoiler, but when Kevin Bacon's sitting on his porch while Mahershala Ali's kind of breaking down the car, what's going on or what he thinks is going on. And I'm like, Kevin Bacon just 2 minutes ago was like, get the fuck off my lawn, basically. He's got a shotgun. And he's just sitting in the background hanging out. And Tati was like, well, why isn't he going to the place that he told them to go, the bunker? Right. Like, he's that conservative dude that's been planning for this his whole life. He's the white guy that's like, I'm having a gun in case they come for my shit. Now he legit is like, they're coming for my shit. I'm ready. Like, he wants to smoke. He wants to die.
He doesn't
shit. Like,
and he doesn't look at it like, I'm gonna go to this bunker and be safe. I think he looks at the shit like, this house my bunker. Like, come on in here if y'all want to. Like, that's like he on that shit. And the other thing too was like the deer thing.
Yeah,
I remember seeing that thing and it was creepy, but then I went on Twitter and they were like, bruh, it's fucking, there's real life deer that are doing that shit right now because of some kind of disease that is making them not afraid of humans anymore.
Oh no.
Right. So like that to me was like, oh, this movie's fucking bananas. As soon as I go on Twitter, like, no, that happened. And like, it wasn't like they said, oh, here's a Reddit thread. I was reading news articles like, yeah, deer ran up on some people because they're no longer afraid of people. We think it's a disease. And so like, I don't know. I dug the movie even though
I'm still afraid of them though. I don't give a fuck if they're afraid of me or not.
Yeah, I did see a video on Facebook today of a woman trying to feed a deer like it was Bambi and that motherfucker headbutted her like.
Oh yeah, deer can fuck you up, bro.
It'll fuck your car up, child.
Niggas were raised on Bambi thinking that shit is cute. Like, no, those niggas will fuck you up.
Right, that was for real.
Hey, Brandon, in that movie when the like 50 deer came out, I've never been so afraid of my. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Like seeing one deer if you're driving down the street is like, oh, magical, majestic. Look at that. No, Karen, we've seen it in person. We've driven down the street and in that neighborhood over by
I don't be thinking that.
And, no, you were with me, and it was like, look at that. Oh my God, a deer. You weren't tripping. You haven't even seen this movie. When that it's much more scarier to see 60 deer staring at your ass, looking like literally nucking you buck.
And that girl she was 60 pounds soaking wet. She was not going to survive. But I mean, any woodland creature, when there's more than like a dozen, you get freaked out. I remember my boy Alex, he used to have a stand-up bit about this. He was in Central Park and they saw like one squirrel. They're like, oh, that's cute. Then they saw 3 squirrels and they're like, oh, this is cute. And then eventually they realized that their tree was surrounded by like a dozen squirrels, and he was just like, "Oh my God!" Like because they were eating nuts and shit. Right. And he was like, "Oh no, we gotta get the fuck out of here."
Yeah, bro. I always say like human beings are like the least physically intimidating creatures on the planet.
Oh, for sure.
And just like an angry squirrel could fuck up a regular person for it. Like it would be close. Like I'm not saying you can't beat the squirrel, but it wouldn't be like this. Like it would be a team of them. It would take 10 rounds and you would win by like split decision. You know what I'm saying?
We had 2 possums. We had 2 possums on our back porch the other night. I was like, Tati was like, what are you gonna do? I'm like, nothing. I'm not going out there to fuck around with possums. They're gonna fuck you up.
Call the people who animal control. That's their job.
My neighbor left.
You left them alone. I'm like, I'm not calling nobody. I don't want no smoke. I'm just gonna go back in my room.
But our neighbor yesterday, for some reason, left 2 trash bags just sitting in the fucking breezeway. And we have raccoons literally right behind our apartment. Right. And if you leave food or trash out, they will fucking just come up here and eat that shit. Mm-hmm. So our Ring doorbell keeps going off all night, and I'm like, "What the fuck is going on?" Yeah. I look over there, and it's the fucking raccoon, and the raccoons are like, like they come back, like they be like,
"Oh yeah, for sure."
They be like, "Okay, nobody ate me, nobody tried to eat me. Okay, I'm gonna come back in 5 minutes."
You had a raccoon a few weeks ago too.
Yeah, and so the Ring doorbell goes off, and so it's like I don't know, right before I'm about to go to bed, and I turn on the microphone for the doorbell, and I just go, "Hey, get out of here." The fucking raccoon looks at the door at the light right in the camera like, and what, bitch? And you know what? I turned the mic off. I said, you right, bro. I'm not coming out there. I don't even know why I fucked with you like that.
They desensitized to the doorbell. They was like, if I don't see the door open, you ain't doing shit.
Also, I'm not, the way his body language was, I'm not sure if I opened the door, he was leaving. He was like, the fuck are you doing? You see I'm eating dinner?
Real quick before we move on, I do want to say about the movie, that Mahershala Ali Netflix movie. The same day we watched Apollo 13, and I just gotta say, Kevin Bacon might be the most underrated actor of all time. Like he's been in so many amazing things.
It's kind of his fault, though. It's kind of his fault because this motherfucker's
not flashy enough, right? He's very low key.
It's not that he'll be in anything.
Yes,
like I watched that, and like credit to him or whatever, because I know he's working and good for him.
Well, he lost all his money in the Madoff shit. Remember? Oh, that's why he started doing TV. He started doing The Following because of that.
Yeah, because he did a movie that was so bad. It was a horror movie about LGBTQ.
Oh, kids. Them, right? It was on Peacock. Yeah,
it was so bad, and I looked up and was like, he in this? Like when I saw he was in it in the trailer, I was like, oh, maybe it's a good movie because why would he be in it? And then like 20 minutes in, it turned into like, wait, why are you in this, Kevin? But you just solved that mystery. He lost his money, so he probably got to be in it.
I remember like it was like him, Spielberg. There's a few famous people that like lost a significant amount of money with Madoff.
Damn.
And then Kevin Bacon had never done TV before. And then they were like, he's doing Kevin Williamson's The Following. People were like, he never did TV. And like, he will do TV now. He got to do TV now. He was on Showtime's TV show too and shit. Like,
oh man. What do you think about the Oscar nominations? I know the big thing is Greta Gerwig and Margot Robbie, and I feel like black people are on shut the fuck up. White women, and then and the white people are like, how could they do this to our queen? So like, where you fall on that?
Listen, first of all, I mean, I think that if you are going to nominate for Best Picture, you should nominate the director that kind of put that all together. Absolutely. I think that's Hollywood though. There can only be one. So if we're going to nominate a woman, there can only be one woman in the Best Director category. Like, and that's what's so weird about it. But Best Actress was stacked this year. I'm surprised that Margot Robbie didn't get it. But whatever, preferred that maybe whatever slot that she had given up was taken by Fantasia or Tiana Taylor. Yes. I'm hoping that Lily Gladstone is going to take it. But in regards to a lot of the other categories, I was very happy with American Fiction showing. The fact that Jeffrey Wright, Sterling K. Brown got in there, like that made my heart swell. Yeah. Coleman Domingo getting nominated. Like the only thing that really frustrated me about the snubs was Greta Lee not getting nominated for Past Lives. Yeah. Not only was she gave a performance of the year, in my opinion, but also she's just there's no reason. There's certain actresses where you're like, they should be on every magazine. They should be the most popular actress. You got Emma Stone and everything. If you've seen Poor Things, I've never become less attracted to an actress in a long time because of a movie. That movie turned me off so much from Emma Stone. I'm sorry, she gave a great performance, but I'm just like, no, it's not for me no more. Spider-Verse though. Spider-Verse getting snubbed for Best Picture and Best Score is egregious. Like that music, I remember the first 10 minutes Across the Spider-Verse. I'm like, not only is the story incredible, the screenplay is incredible, but the music, just every scene was putting you in a vibe, and they made such distinct sounds for every Spider-Man. I'm like, how the fuck did they not get nominated? Like, it's so crazy. But for the most part, I'm pretty happy with it. Very predictable. Yeah, I think that the telecast is probably gonna have a very low viewership because there's not gonna be many surprises. But yeah, for the most part, I'm happy, especially with the increase in diversity I saw in the noms. America Ferrera for Barbie was interesting, but I'm still happy that she got some burn off of that.
Like, I'm glad she got it because her speech is the core of the movie to me. Mm-hmm. Like, motherfuckers were crying in my theater when she gave that fucking speech, America Ferrera, about how hard it is to be a woman. Even though, like I said, I think it's weird that Margot Robbie didn't get a nom. I'm not saying she should have won, but I mean, I saw people trying to downplay it like she was like the wrong person to play that role, but honest to God, it felt like she was the only person to play that role to me.
For that role.
There's very few movie stars now, and she's a movie star.
And like and it didn't feel, and like it's one of those roles where it didn't feel like insert another person in the same movie for me. No. It felt like Margot pulled that shit off. Yeah, and I always think this is weird, but this is just kind of how it is as a black person. But the people that are like, well, Ava didn't get nominated for Selma. It's like, yeah, and we thought that was wrong.
Yes,
like we're not like we shouldn't be advocating for like, and I'm glad it's happened to someone else because it's like, no, that's bad. That like I thought Greta should have got nominated for sure. And then the other thing with Lily Gladstone, and this is such a Hollywood thing, but it kind of feels like the you remember Barkhad Abdi from Captain Phillips?
Yep.
There's this thing that happens every year where they nominate one person like this for like Lily Gladstone, the Quran flick that was in black and white on Netflix. Fuck, I can't remember the name of the flick. Okay. But give me 1 second. I'm gonna put it in.
Wait, are you saying that she's gonna like fade into obscurity? Because apparently this wasn't her best performance last year. Apparently she's been working for a while, and there's another movie that a lot of critics were like, she's even better in that than Killers of the Flower Moon.
Yeah, and so this is the thing for me with that kind of stuff. They'll do this thing in Hollywood where they'll be like, this person has finally arrived. This is their star turn. Every red carpet, they love their dress, especially if they're like not like if they're like indigenous or it's like something like, oh, this person is Mexican, and they will straight up be like, look, this is finally her time. And as soon as the fucking award show is over, it's like Hollywood's phone turns off. And they're like, go back to Mexico and work on those films because we ain't hiring your ass.
Raji talked about that. I think that's honestly, like, I think that's the low. No one talks about it, but I think Taraji doing all those interviews actually hurt the color purple in the award season. And no one wants to admit it because her talking about how real it is for black artists and how the studio really didn't back the movie I think, really it turned people off, the critics or the guilds that would have voted for that shit. I mean, Daniel Brooks did get nominated, but it's the sole nomination from that movie, right? And Taraji was real. She's like, after I got nominated for an Oscar, she basically was like, people thought it was a fluke. And I think that happens a lot for people of color that get nominated for these awards. People are like, oh, that's just like that one role that you got lucky with. Versus being like, no, you've been working towards this shit. You're just getting better and better.
So the person I'm thinking of is her name is Yalitza Aparicio. She starred in Roma. And I remember that dress was tremendous. And there were people, oh, she's so beautiful. And look at her dress and the way she carrying her culture and her people on her back. And Hollywood has finally arrived at this time. And then I go look at her IMDb. That was like her first movie. And then like everything after that, short, music videos, short. And then everything else is just like Hispanic. Like Hollywood was like, yeah, that was cool then, but we're not really turning. And I feel like if Lily Gladstone doesn't win it, it just becomes like another like, well, no need to hire her ever again for anything because we white people patting ourselves on the back.
We did it. Yeah, we did it.
So I feel like we get an annual person like that here.
I hope that's not the case, but this industry is just fucking wild. It's so finicky, and then they're like, why don't we have any stars? Why don't people, they see how much money there is to be made with people of color centric stories, yet they're reverting back to their old ways. And look at the executives. None of those people got fired. And all the stuff that happened with the strikes and stuff, but they're the ones that are making these decisions that are putting the industry where it's at. And it's just like, it makes you crazy. It's constant gaslighting for anyone below that level.
Yeah. Right. And I think this has a lot to do with why a lot of people are to the point where they'll be like, I'll do my shit independent. Will it be as big? No. Will I make as much money? No. But at least it's mine is in my control and I can dictate and have a say so in how it's presented, and it's going to be presented the way I want it to.
So even independent is a luxury and a privilege at some point.
Yes, it is.
Like in a studio system, or in a Hollywood economy, it takes millions of dollars to make some of these movies, and if not millions, like you do low budget, that's still sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars to do that shit. Especially under the rules with all the unions and labor and stuff. If you're gonna do it right, you gotta spend some bread. There's all kinds of people that are success stories that are like, I put this whole thing on my credit card, but there's also got to be a ton of motherfuckers that's just like, I'm $100,000 in debt. And I work at Shoney's because that movie didn't work out for me. The thing you said about Taraji, I think is very interesting too, because like, it's such a disconnect, I think, between social media and the real world, because social media is like, yeah, girl, that's what I'm talking. Say your truth. And it's like, I'm like, I hear you. I hear that you're saying the truth, but being that it's during this press run, and being that a lot of this is going to be taken as grievance, even if it's not really about this film, it's just going to tank the film. It's just, there's just no, like people aren't capable of holding two things in their mind of like, this film is excellent. And also Taraji P. Henson is airing out a lifetime of grievance. Cause I think everyone made it center on the color purple, which sucks. Cause The Color Purple is like, not the movie sucks, but it sucks that they centered it on The Color Purple, because she was talking about not getting money on Empire, like not getting a pay raise in her rate since she did Proud Mary, which is like a 2017 film. So she was talking about a systemic issue, and instead it turned into like just Oprah hates black women or whatever. Instead, it turned into something that wasn't even true, which is sad because she's openly talked about her like mental health struggles and dealing with like I don't know if it's manic depression or just depression, but she's talked about it openly. She's done mental health conferences, all this stuff. And so to me, obviously not diagnosed, and I don't know this person, but it came off like when she was crying in multiple interviews, I was like, oh, she might be going through something.
Yeah, she's not. That's the thing with black artists, especially given what happened recently with the strike. People had to really go through it. Like, I feel like people would assume like someone like Billy Porter, right? As God had made, he won an Emmy. He was the lead on Pose, all these things. That nigga had to sell his house during the strike. you know, I don't know if that's his only house or whatever,
Right.
but he was very public. Like, I gotta sell shit, like to do. Like, people think I'm made of money, but when you're producing, if you have a production company and you have people on salary with benefits, and you trying to keep people afloat during this time, you're just hemorrhaging money, and you can't do anything.
And tons of artists came out and said, here's my residuals during that. Remember, like there were so many people that they're like household names, and they're being like, so remember that season of Empire I did? I got 76 cents. And they're like, oh shit. Like, how are you gonna make ends meet? So yeah, I think
didn't Aaron Paul even say, like, for Breaking Bad, like, their residuals are garbage? Yes. Like, he's like, we have like the biggest show on that platform, and I get nothing from that, really.
So yeah, I definitely felt like you know, I felt like something bigger was happening with Taraji there. But yeah, it's unfortunate. It did tank the run. I know she tried to like salvage it right before the Oscars were like, I just hope people don't take it against this film. I was like, oh, it's too late.
It's too late. As soon as that started circulating, I was like, I was one of those people who's like, good for her. But then once I started seeing less promo for Color Purple, I was like, oh no. Like,
yeah.
And the fact that like it didn't even get below the line noms for stuff, I'm like, oh Jesus.
And you got, and like these fucking award shows don't want the controversy. So like, because we've seen this happen to not like, it's not just black shit. We've seen this happen before with movies that have like a controversial press run or something, or like a star that ends up doing some fuck shit, and all of a sudden it's just like that went from everyone's gonna nominate it to 0 nominations. Nate Parker was a good example of this.
Yes.
Where it's just like had all the buzz, but by the time the motherfucking like award shows came around, they were like, we don't want to be in a potential situation where this dude is taking the stage and giving some type of speech that we're like, oh no.
Rod and Karen, have y'all seen Origin? Ava DuVernay's. Okay. What do you think about that? And like that whole, like, you know, they were trying to do a late press round with Angelina Jolie. I think Cher did some press screenings. They were trying to essentially do a To Leslie and get a groundswell campaign going for awards. I saw the movie. I had a screener for it for a while. And I thought it was okay. Like, if I'm being fully transparent, I think it was one of those movies that was trying to be deeper, but probably was better served as a miniseries to try to tackle the deep themes that it's trying to go through. Because to me, it was a depressing 2.5-hour film that really didn't. I felt like I had to read the book in order to get what the movie was trying to say. And then I'm like, that's just more depressing work for me.
I thought it was
Andrew's character goes through it. I'm like, oh God, like
I thought it was taxing. I thought it was
taxing.
I thought the storytelling was audacious though. Like they really
flashbacks and everything like that. Yeah.
Bruh, like the flashbacks, the like showing rather than telling of certain histories. The fact that you spend certain amount of time away from your main character, like where like when you go to India and you spend like a good 20-30 minutes on just the history of the caste system of India. Like even as I was watching, I was like, some people, you're gonna lose some people here. But I was learning and also being like impressed with the acting, especially from Ajanu.
She's always great.
Yeah, but same thing as you though. I came away from it like I'm not really sure what how to even categorize this film. It's like you almost made like a new type of film, and it may be a thing that is rewarded in the future. But I felt it was going to be either poorly understood or penalized in the present for this moment, because like I haven't seen a story told like that. But at the same time, and the acting was good, and I have no knocks against the acting or the storytelling, but the way that it is executed, like you said, almost feels like it's better served as either like a documentary or a series of like like every part of that cast that she ties to like you almost need like an hour with, like here's an hour with Germany, here's an hour with the South, and here's and so
you need to that. And I felt like you needed to go a little bit deeper into what a caste system is and how that gets applied on a global scale, the way that the journalist posited. Because for me, when I see the story, you know, about the black kid at the pool, like that's a story I've heard so much from family members and just history in general, right? But I think for me, like my immediate visceral reaction as a black man in America is that's still racism. You know, I'm not You know, it's not this caste system. And so it's like, so then how do you get people like me to change our perspective? And I didn't see any, it was like, here's what you should believe now versus really showing the evidence.
Which is why I was super interesting, because it's like you said, it almost needs to be a miniseries, because what we're really advocating for is a longer movie, and that movie's already long as fuck.
Yeah,
so
it's 2.5 hours, bro.
Yeah, like you can't, like you almost need like some classroom scenes of her explaining to an audience that a group of students who doesn't understand her point, being like, here's where caste is different than race, and then interspersing that throughout the film.
And for people listening who are like, why is this, how can it be so taxing? Mind you, this movie opens with a Trayvon Martin reenactment, basically.
Yeah, it's a film. I mean, that's what Ava does. That's Ava's bag. That's her part.
Selma, I remember when they had that Lakeith scene when he was running into. That's still fucking.
When they see us, if you've ever seen that miniseries,
God,
she wants to tell the stories that are the hardest to tell. I give her all the credit for it, because I never feel like it's insensitive. But it is hard work, and it is work. Like watching her films feels like I'm quote unquote doing the work. And I know there's Black people that avoid that. I'm not telling you not to avoid it. I'm not judging you, but it is that this is another one of those films for her. But yeah, like I said, it feels like the kind of thing that if other movies copied this movie, I would not be surprised, because she did manage to take a type of text and turn it into like a film that from something that is not really a like that book's not a movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's fucked up though, Rod, because now that you said that, there's going to be like some white avant-garde director that's going to do a similar thing and get all the accolades. Because I do think that the way that, Ava recently posted something, I think, on Instagram that was a bit like, expressing her frustration and things like that. And I'm just like, I hope this doesn't hurt her ability to get funding for another movie. Because this movie, also, the thing with Origin is that it felt like she was squeezing the most out of the budget she was given.
Oh yeah,
like, whatever budget, it was definitely below $5 million, I believe.
Yeah, but it feels expensive and epic, especially those scenes of the past that she puts like set pieces and shit. Like I'm sure they probably went to Germany to film some of that shit, but like there's moments visually in this film that really did floor me, like when she's standing on top of that thing in Germany, and they go underneath and then pan up through the street. Yes. And I'm like, fuck that, like that. It's tough, man. Even like in India, them using the oil to like keep themselves from the filth of cleaning that shit, and like so like. Yeah, it's a very powerful film to me, but also like it's like half documentary, half film, half like it's being a lot, and I knew it was gonna probably take a hit for being a lot of different things to people, but yeah, I did. But she's another person whose work I enjoy, because I think she has great intention in her execution, and it's never porn. You know what I mean? I know people always like, it's trauma porn. She doesn't do that shit.
It definitely didn't feel like that. It just was very true. Like you said, it's real. And she doesn't pull back from people that go through harrowing life experiences, like between when they see us and then that, and Selma also. Yeah. But in this movie, Aunjanue Ellis's journalist character has a lot of loss. And we see it throughout the 2.5 hours. And you're just like,
and bro, I went and looked that shit up after the film, because I'm like, was this we need to give Aunjanue Ellis so she can get the Best Actress nom? We got to give her a lot of dramatic scenes. And I went and looked it up. I was like, oh no, that happened for real to Isabel Wilkerson. And it also immediately made me think of the toll writing that book must have taken on her, and all the shit she went through. Like, I honestly, it's just, I don't even know how to tell you. It's just more of a it's unfortunate that all that shit is real, because it's all a drag, and that's what most people walking out the theater are gonna take with them, is just like, what a drag, as opposed to wow, that was some harrowing real shit that Isabel Wilkerson went through to give us her thesis. But I agree with you. I still do feel like we needed more of an explanation of the thesis of why caste versus race is central to her book, and I don't think we really got that in the film. And also, I think Chris Pine needs to watch his back because John Bernthal has now moved up the scale.
He is
that spot.
Chris Pine, John Bernthal, and who's another white dude that like, especially black women are like, we love this motherfucker.
John Bernthal's white allyship in that movie.
Yeah, he's just in general because he did the Wind River too. He was the partner for the indigenous woman. Like he's out here repping
even
the love for women of color.
Even in the Baltimore Gun like miniseries. Like he be doing like some woke work. I don't know if the white people are aware of it, but he do work. But listen, this character in this film and the lengths that this man went through to be a good white man, like his allyship score is off the fucking charts. Like I kept waiting for something to happen with this character. Like the one argument that he gets in with his wife, he's right. Like I was waiting on it to be like, oh, they was fighting, and then because he a white man, he said some bullshit. The whole time I was like, nah, he telling the truth. He's spitting facts. You need to listen to him, girl.
Yeah. When his mother-in-law was kind of reading him about white people, he just looked at her teary-eyed like, I know. I was like, damn, they got
Hey, when the nigga first shows up and he mansplains to the other white man, like, you gonna listen to this black woman, and you get in there and you do what she tells you, and you don't come out until it's done. I don't want to hear that bullshit. And then he looked at her and was like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Did I just mansplain? I didn't mean to do that. I apologize. I said, this man he should win an Oscar.
I mean, I thought he should have been nominated for King Richard, honestly. I thought he was fantastic in that. Like, he's been doing it. Like, that's the thing.
We need a Best Ally Award at the NAACP. At the Image Awards, and he'd be a shoe-in. We might name it after him after his last like 5 years of work. It might be the John Bernthal White Ally Award at the NAACP. Oh man! All right, look, we're having a good time, but we gotta like do some news and talk some games if you got just a little bit more time, man.
Yeah, man, let's rock. Let's do it.
All right. So first of all, oh shit, I gotta play music. So I know where to put commercials later. 1 second. All right. Nicki Minaj is freaking the fuck out because Megan Thee Stallion put out a song called Hiss. That's clearly dissing Nicki Minaj and Drake.
I guess she got tired of everybody.
Right. And she has a line, these hoes don't be mad at Megan, these hoes be mad at Megan's Law, which refers to a U.S. law requiring law enforcement to share information about registered sex offenders with the public. And we know Nicki Minaj is married to her husband, Kenneth Petty, who is a convicted sex offender. And so this has started a complete meltdown online for Nicki Minaj. Like Instagram live videos. I think she even did her like Apple radio show. She had a line that was kind of corny about Megan getting shot in the foot. That was like
Ever since Safari stopped ghostwriting for her bars haven't been great.
Man,
I'm just saying.
Like, did he write the verse on Monster? Because I feel like that was her peak.
I thought Kanye wrote that.
No, that's the word. That's what I've always heard, is that until what was it? I don't remember what album, but like, you know, until they like broke up officially, like he was writing a lot for shit. But that's rumor. I can't confirm or deny.
So I'll show y'all this is the Instagram. I mean the Instagram live, the line she had, I guess.
Hey. Listen to this, y'all. I said that. Hey, y'all. I
said. So it says, bad bitch, she like 6 foot. I call her Bigfoot. Bitch fell off. I said, get up on your good foot. She thought that was super hot line. Bring it back.
Play it again, I heard you, man.
Now she sounds like she's kind of slurring. Even
she don't just sound like herself.
Yeah, like I've heard stuff about people saying she's on drugs now.
Yeah, she has not been well in my assessment for a long time.
Right.
Yeah.
I think the whole fame thing and people constantly commenting on her appearance and the things she's done to herself. There's just a lot of things in that, coupled with this persona that she has to carry. I think it probably made her nuts. I mean, that happens to a lot of black artists. They go fucking crazy.
Yeah, and especially her coming up at first in the era where she was the only black rapper woman that was getting any like props and winning all the awards. And now there's so many talented black women rappers that are like killing the game and working together.
Yeah,
like it's not all a bunch of rivalries and there can only be one. Yeah. And she's kind of the antithesis of that. So yeah, I think all that stuff is definitely contributed to that. And then I think the isolation she's experienced during COVID from one, she didn't want to get vaccinated. Remember that story about my cousin's friend nuts swole up. He couldn't get married because he got vaccinated. God. Yeah. But she tripled down on that and pushed back on everybody. I won't be bullied. Still has a tweet up. She even like married this guy who everyone's like, what the fuck are you doing? This guy's a sex offender. And then she like seems almost like isolated to where it's just me and my man and the people in my house, and we've decided that this is the line I'm fucking dying on. So yeah, I think it's like you said, it's been a bad look for a minute.
I mean, and to that point, with like, you know, with her husband's situation, given that she's surrounded by famous people, no one's ever going to want to be associated with that dude. No one's ever going to want to have a picture hanging out at Nicki's house and dudes in the background. Even like, it's just not a good look. And so I'm sure everyone's manager, PR people are like, hey, I know you're friends with Nicki, but
right.
And, you know, that could be isolating. Like, you know what I mean? Like, when celebrities get canceled, like I think about, you know, because I watch all their movies from back in the day, like Seth Rogen and James Franco. I'm sure it's like they still talk probably, but it's like, yo, we can never be seen in public together. Like,
absolutely, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we're friends for life, but I can never, like, I'm sure Jonathan Majors and Michael B. Jordan still talk, but he's like, yo, I can never hang out with you publicly anymore.
She's also really delved into herself being extremely mean.
It's a brand now.
Her she's fully fallen in with her own stands. And you know that stand shit online is scary because those motherfuckers will support you right into the goddamn grave. Yeah, like they think it's a sport. It's like rooting for your favorite basketball team. So like if the basketball team is flagrant fouling people, now you on Twitter like flagrant fouls is good. Then that's kind of what she's doing. She's doxed people, harassed people offline, threatened people, and been in people's DMs. People that aren't even adding her. Like someone just says like, "Oh, I didn't like that last Nicki Minaj song," and then later they're putting up a screenshot like, "Yo, Nicki Minaj is in my mentions talking about beating my ass or whatever," and then she'll be like, "Yeah, and we gonna find you in this." And people are doxing people. There was a person that put out a TikTok video about her white kid, about her, and even like how she gave a 13-year-old a lap dance once on stage, and she also made a song with Lil Twist called "Old Enough" when he was only 16 years old, about, you know, trying to fuck a young a dude or whatever, an underage dude. And
Drake does something similar. Like, I don't see why he doesn't get
right. Well, I'm gonna tell you why. Right, I'm gonna tell you why. Because people do that all the time to Drake. Drake don't act crazy at them, and that kid is not, that white kid that made that video has now been doxxed, and Drake would not acknowledge that. Like I'm not saying it would make him a better person or anything. I'm just saying, like, if you said, "What about that time you brought a girl on stage and you didn't know she was under 18 and you danced with her? What about that shit?" And then everybody's gonna, I'm sure he would be like, "I'm not responding." Like that's what about that? I'm not gonna Streisand affect myself.
Right.
Streisand affects herself all the time. She elevates this stuff, but it's in a way of intimidating and bullying people that I think, just like you said, it's not just even, I don't want to be seen with your man. It's, I can't be seen with you because,
right,
you know, I can't be seen as condoning that type of behavior online and shit. So yeah, it's really sad to see like what happened with her, but She also talked about Nicki Minaj's mom dying. Which is really wild because I know what was she said what was it? I don't even know what that happened in art.
Megan's mom dying?
Nicki talked about Megan's mom.
Okay. Yeah, I was confused for some.
My bad.
Okay.
My mistake. And I know there was an award show that she accepted an award and brought up, like Nicki brought up, like my mom. Thank God for my mom being da 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 da. And it's like, interesting. And then in this current iteration of this beef, she's talking about Megan's mom as well. So yeah, it's fucking crazy.
That's what's so scary too, is like we're watching these people that we used to like, you know, artistically we used to be like, man, they fucking are talented, they're doing the thing, and now they're so isolated and clearly going through some mental issues, and the people that are around them are probably yes people that aren't actually encouraging them to get help and shit, and just letting them dig their own grave by isolating themselves from not only their, you know, people in the industry but also their closest allies. Like I think all the time about, you know, Ye has been publicly like, I'm not mentally well for nearly a decade. And people are like, cool. Like, and he's openly like, I don't take my meds. And people are like, cool. Like, and it's like, no, like
yeah, something scary shit to me. And I know it's not scary in the traditional sense of scary. And I understand that people have no empathy for Kanye. That's fine if you do, if you don't. But I still do, to be honest. Mm-hmm. And
I do too.
Because he's been open about it. He like that's the thing is it'd be one thing if he kept it to himself and it wasn't like I'm bipolar and I see music in colors and all this shit. Like you're like, okay, clearly like his brain is just wired differently. But when he's like, I don't take my meds and laughs about it, you're like, whoa.
Yeah, and we know he goes off meds whenever he has an album coming out, and then his behavior is erratic when his album comes out, and it just keeps escalating the older he gets. But the scariest videos that he ever puts out to me is not that Klan hood shit or him wearing, you know, a Confederate jacket or something. The shit that's scary to me is a room full of motherfuckers in there acting like this man's not crazy.
Yep.
Like, what the fuck are y'all doing? Like, yes, Jules tried to put up a video like, I can't believe he kicked me out the studio. I was like, bitch, what were you doing in the studio? This man is having a breakdown and you're just there as a hanger on to be like, at least I was in the IG video. That's the scariest shit, that somebody can clearly need help. And there's an industry of people that are like, nah, fuck that. As long as I can get, when I watched that Kanye documentary on Netflix and they get to the third one. And he's hanging out with these white people that clearly do not know or give a fuck about anything about him. But they love being in a room with Kanye West. Mm-hmm. And they're sitting, he's doing these crazy rants and they're sitting up there like, yep, that makes sense. And I'm like, he'll never get out of this psychosis because people have joined him in the psychosis by validating it. And to a certain extent, I know people don't feel this way and it's fine. We can disagree. But I think even entertaining the stuff he says as something worthy of pushback that we need to like openly like debate with him, it also validates his insanity. We are still, because we're treating him like, hey man, you want to run for president? That's a thing we need to discuss, as opposed to being like, that's a thing a crazy person is doing, and we should look at him the same way you look at someone in the streets yelling. And be like, and when I see that, I go, that person needs help. I don't go, I would like to debate this man.
Well, that's why when he got with Kim and the Kardashians, and I'm not saying like families should be well equipped to deal with people that have mental health issues or addiction issues and stuff, but that family had a track record of not dealing with their partners that deal with substance abuse and other issues very well. And so when I heard about Ye going off for 2 hours at the wedding, just talking nonsensical shit, and they're just cheering him on, I'm like, oh, this is going to be bad. Like whatever this relationship's going, it's not going to be good for anybody.
And like a person with that much money and fame, because like to the Kardashians' credit, they tried to get him help multiple times. Like they were the people that got him in rehab. They were the people that got him put back into a
facility and stuff.
Right. But he's rich and famous. He don't have to do anything. And there are people like and I know there are going to be people that are going to say like, well, this one was a victim or whatever. But his new quote unquote wife, that shit to me, they're going to be, I know people already like, and I'm sure she's going to do it when she leaves and be like, this man victimized me. I was only this. But like, you're willingly putting yourself in this situation, being in camera, being in every magazine to be like, yeah, dress me like a doll, even though you said that stuff about Kim K or whatever. I don't give a fuck. I need to be famous. I don't have any talent either. That shit scares the fuck out of me that there are people like that out there. And I'm sure she's going to hop, whenever she gets out of there, she's going to be like, he victimized me. And I'll give the Kardashians credit to that too. They still never did that move, which everyone said they were going to do. They said whenever that marriage dissolved, Kim was going to be out here like, this black brute attack. But she's like, that's the father of my kids.
Right.
He's on fucking Instagram threatening her, and she's on some like, guys, he has mental health issues. So like, he almost took them out of their reality TV sphere to deal with some real shit. But he's so rich and famous, unless he wants to deal with it, no one's gonna deal with it. And so yeah, it is scary. And I think Nicki is very much aligned, not in the bipolar thing, but aligned in the same, like, I'm surrounded with people that just say yes to every fucking thing I say and do. They act like everything is cool. And then because of that, I don't have to deal with the way society sees how I'm fucked up, because the people in my house don't think I'm fucked up. Karen, then Brandon.
I agree. And also it's one of those things too, when it comes to the Kanye Kim thing, people cannot divorce the things that happen with the Kardashians from the reality of Kanye. And I think because of that, people make assumptions that we don't really know. People assume that they didn't help these people. We don't know what they did behind the scenes, how they reached out. We don't know. And these are grown ass adults. You can't make people go to facilities to have money. You can't make people do anything. And I think people want to keep the illusion of the Kardashians being these heartless ass bitches that they will do anything possible to keep that dream alive. It's not that they hadn't fucked up. It's not that you don't have the right to be mad, but at least let it be justified in reality of the actions that they did versus you just making assumptions about shit that you don't know.
Right?
I mean, Karen wrapped that up succinctly. I mean, I think, it's just with these artists, and I think particularly with black artists, it's, this has become more prevalent the more people talk about their mental health struggles and stuff like that, especially in this industry, because especially as black artists, we already have imposter syndrome. We already have self-doubt. We already usually have depression, other trauma and shit. That's why we're artists. You know what I mean? Like, you typically don't get into creative shit because things are honky-dory. You know what I mean? Some bad shit's happen. And, it's tough to balance that within fame, within the expectations of fame, within the responsibilities of like keeping people on your payroll and not knowing who to trust, because money changes people, right?
Yeah.
Like money. When we were in Hollywood, I was essentially doing an internship in Hollywood. Do you know how many people Tati had coming out the woodwork from her family that didn't understand what us being bi-coastalship meant? They thought we were like in LA, like playing it up. We were new Hollywood. Right. Like, hey, can you break me off? I'm like, we are paying 2 rents, sir. What are you doing?
I'm out here on $1 in a dream, hoping I make it.
Like, niggas are like, oh, you made it. Like, because I got a bitch deadline.
Roger P. Henson is crying, okay? Right. I don't know why y'all think I got it made.
Right. Okay? What is happening here?
We got people from Billy Porter is selling his house, and y'all asking me, come on, man.
Y'all think I got the 5?
The other thing too is like, it's hard to separate the fact that the Kardashians make their mint in an exploitative fashion, which is reality TV.
Agreed.
So then there's like a residual, like, well, how could this, like, you're gonna exploit this situation because it's part of your. It's how you make money. It's part of your brand. But also at the same time, you obviously would rather resolve this situation. I'm sure they'd rather be in fake fights about bullshit than be like, no, he really does have mental health issues.
We would like the illusion.
And we can't say cut and then just be like, you want to eat dinner? No, this is really happening. And then the last thing too is, I always say this about Kanye is like, Kanye is to Black Power the way Megyn Kelly is the feminism, to where like when it benefits him, it'll come up. And so like I remember when he tried that, like, you won't let a black father see his children. And it's like, even though you're threatening their mother on Instagram and you want to kill Pete Davidson, I'm gonna go with the white lady on this one. I'm sorry, Kanye, but I think you don't have as good a point as you believe you have.
I still remember when Charlamagne said, Ye called him. He's like, you gonna have this white boy with a 10-inch penis who's fucking my wife on your show? You gonna be friends with him?
But yeah, man. So good luck to Nicki Minaj and all that stuff. But I think she might be a bit beyond help at the moment. Let's see.
I hope something changes. She gets it, but time will tell.
Right. Let's move to another story. We got Brandon here. I wanna try to get in a couple more things.
Yay!
Let's play a little bit of fucking with black people.
Okay.
All right.
Hey, we're just fucking with them people because they black. We're just fucking with them people because they black. We're just fucking with them black people. We're just fucking with them blacks. We're just fucking with black people. Hey, hey,
All right. Fucking with black people. Go around the globe, find different articles that make us feel fucked with, and assign point scores from 0 to 100 in intervals of 25, or if it makes us real mad, Dracarys. Candace Owens is terrified of women pilots and stands by Charlie Kirk's black pilot comments. So
that's the dude who said, like, if I see a black pilot, I'm gonna wonder if they're actually qualified.
That is correct. That is what he said. Let me see if I can play it.
My story hits. That's why I think this United story and the DEI story hits so hard, because we've all been in the back of a plane when the turbulence hits, or when you're flying through a storm and you're like, I'm so glad I saw the guy with the right stuff and the square jaw get into the cockpit before we took off, and I feel better now.
You want to go thought crime? Like, I'm sorry, if I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified.
Well, that's the you wouldn't have done that. You wouldn't have done that before.
That's not an immediate.
No, you wouldn't have done that before.
That's not who I am. That's not what I believe.
It is the reality. The left has
four white dudes co-signing is hilarious.
Yo, that's the thing with these shows, and that Tati actually brought that up the other day. She was watching a news show. 3 white guys on the panel talk about women issues. And
right.
She's like, yo, but I'm like, the producers don't even care anymore. No one cares about the optics of this shit anymore.
Bruh, oh my God. 4 white dudes being like, no, and you're not racist at all. Like, that's not even what you really believe, right?
Yes, it is.
And him being like, yeah, that's what I believe. Okay, well, that's cool too. Like, but to top that off, because that's already pretty fuck with us. Candace Owens saw that and said, oh, let's double down.
Unfortunately, that is the reality of what happens when it comes to DEI. And what he is remarking on is true. I would be terrified if I got onto a plane and I saw a woman flying the plane. And I know that we have the United CEO saying that he just wants to fulfill a quota. He just wants there to be more women and wants there to be more black people. And he's not concerned at first with qualifications. That is something that should alarm all of us, guys, honestly.
So if I'm a black pilot that had to be a pioneer in my industry because there's so few of us, and I finally get this job, and I'm finally at the helm of a fucking Delta 73, whatever the fuck, and then I got to deal with now white passengers and Candace Owens being like, is he qualified? Like, bitch, do you know what I went through? There should be a movie about me.
Right.
And Michael B. Jordan. Like,
right. Yes, keep in mind, he said black people. She took it to women. I'm like, first of all, women out there gotta want to know why they in it, because they didn't say shit about women. And then also, I can't imagine if it's a black woman pilot, she's just gonna jump out the damn side of the door.
And where does she think they come from? Like, she just thinks they go into Starbucks and be like, "Hey, you look like you like planes. Come over here."
Right. Like, people just showing up applying for the job. Like, hey man, I heard y'all need black women pilots, and I played a few games of like Virtual Fighter and Plane Simulator on Microsoft. Y'all hiring?
Maybe it's just me. I don't give a fuck who's flying the plane. As long as we get there safely, I'm under the assumption that you have met all the qualifications to get the job. You wouldn't be up there in the fucking first place. They it's not like they let anybody just walk off the street and be like, "Here, bitch, fly this goddamn plane." You had to go through some form of training to do this anyway. And them saying white men you agree with, May probably was in the comment section and when you put your baby up online. So what are we talking about here, ma'am? What are we talking about here?
Karen, for those that don't have the background on that, Candace Owens had put up a picture of her biracial baby that she had with her white husband, and her own commenters were saying racist shit about her baby.
Yes, they were.
Because she covets a racist fan base, and they didn't decide to make her the exception. They're like, and yo baby is ugly and black too, because all ugly black people are ugly, and that's why we support you, because you say shit like that too. So yeah, I definitely hear you on that. I personally think if we're gonna be racist about people flying planes, we should be racist against white guys.
Yep.
I mean, who's most likely to have got in there skating by on some privilege? It's not the black people.
And also, statistically, just because they're primarily the main pilots, they're the ones that crash the most.
Yeah. Honestly, that's how I'm not even gonna lie, man. I definitely am reverse racist sometimes with certain shit. I'll be like, because I know this motherfucker went through hell to get this job. You know what I mean? Like, people be like, oh, like if I have a black doctor, I'm like, oh, I know that motherfucker got straight A's. I
guarantee you, he was the top 1% of the class. The fuck we talking about?
They was double checking his test. They like, let me see that again. Hey, that can't be right.
And then actually random questions on the spot.
Well, I'll be damned. You really did get all the answers right. All right. Well, I guess you can go ahead and make the first, be the first intern, because we're not gonna make you a doctor right away. That's crazy. That's for white folks. You get to be an intern in the mailroom and work your way up to doctor. That's how they do us. So yeah, it is fucked up. 0 to 100 in intervals of 25. Karen, what would you score this?
Oh, Jakaris, just because it's Candace Owens and anything she says just makes my skin crawl because it dries her edges. Get out of here, ma'am.
All right, Brandon.
I'm gonna say Jakaris too, just because she is the type of person that's going to constantly get a negative reaction from other black people around her. That's going to constantly reinforce these weird fucking conservative views she has. So there's never going to be a like come to Jesus moment with her, right? And she's just going to keep saying provocative shit like this to rile people up. And it's just, given the state of the country right now, like, don't be surprised next year if shit's real wild and she doesn't have the life that she used to have because things went topsy-turvy.
Yeah, I definitely give her a Jakaris as well. She's a permanent Jakaris. Just she breathes, she talks, is always something anti-black and fucked up. So
absolutely.
Yeah, 3 Jakarises from all around. All right, let's do some guess the race so that we can get the full circuit with I know I'm rushing through, but I just want to make sure that we get to do all the fun stuff with Brandon. So let's do some guess the race. This time for 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 guess the race. All right, guess the race time. You know what it is. Go around the globe, find different articles, guess the race of the people involved. After, ragging on Candace Owens, now it's our turn to be racist. Boyfriend busted for dressing in drag to take career exam for girlfriend. So a 26-year-old man named Angraz Singh has been arrested after allegedly masquerading as his girlfriend so he could take an exam in her stead. He tried to enter the examination hall by changing his appearance, a police spokesman said. Singh had been attempting to take a recruitment test for his girlfriend, Paramjit Kaur, 34, at the DAV public school in Kapura, Punjab. Earlier this month, the Indian Express reported Kaur had reportedly previously failed the exam, a prerequisite to become a healthcare worker. To deceive test, this is some DEI shit. To deceive the test. Hold on, Candace, you might owe your apology. The deceived test officials, the undercover lover, shaved his facial hair, applied makeup, and got gussied up in women's clothes before entering the exam room.
Don't you think somebody gonna know who she is?
He even went so far as to forge his girlfriend's voter card ID card and her Aadhaar card, which is a 12-digit unique identity number, to make the illusion ironclad. Okay, tell me you want to dress up as a woman without telling me you want to. Right? Because you took this to the next level. The photos depicted the human chameleon allegedly disguised as his other half as the Baba Farid University of Health Sciences in Punjab. Unfortunately, he failed the exam. Oh.
That's hilarious. All that work. All that fucking work. But how much though? But how much?
Do we know? Put on stockings and shit.
Let's see. They didn't say what the score was.
It'd be so sad if it was like by a point or some shit.
Right, like, you spent more time dressing up and faking IDs than studying the exam yourself. Exam officials reportedly grew suspicious after noticing that his face didn't match the picture on the application form. Authorities subsequently, I don't think this was a test he took in a class she was in, Karen. I think it's like when you take the ACT or the SAT. You show up at a facility to take this test.
Okay.
So it wasn't like, no one's gonna notice that it's not your like your teacher that sees her every day.
Okay, so it's just like a teacher and everybody just kind of shows. So right, they don't know what nobody looks like.
Not even a teacher, probably just a test distributor.
Correct.
Authorities subsequently ran Singh's biometrics and discovered they didn't match the ones kept on record. What does that mean? Run someone's biometrics?
They're taking fingerprints?
Right. What is that? The con artist was subsequently arrested for his bizarre cheating tactic. Police also accused Kaur of conspiring with her boyfriend as they believe he wouldn't have been able to enact the deception without her consent and possible assistance. Well, that's obvious. The couple are currently facing multiple charges, while police have since launched an investigation into how he managed to forge the documents. The police said a man can take such a risk only for his girlfriend. All right, guess the race, Karen.
What's his name again?
His name is Angrez Singh.
I am going. Well, this is a catch-22 because the name sounds Asian, but you said the Indian News reported on it.
Mm-hmm. Well, Indians also consider South
Asian. Yeah.
Okay, Asian. Yes.
Okay, so all right, Southeast Asian. Brandon.
Yep, I'm going with Asian as well.
All right, the chat room, Goop Scoop Indian, don't know what that means. Killers of the Slumdog Moon.
That's a great one. That's
pretty damn funny. Was nodding his head side to side when caught Southeast Asian, Indian Tutsi Asian, an extra that got cut from the origin of caste Indian, a ride or die Indian, Tu Wong Fu, thanks for everything, Julie Newmar, Indian Southeast Asian Islander, Nan Man, SC Asian, South Asian, the other Indian, not Lily's people, Hassan Minaj needed to read the story.
Oh no.
Hassan catching us straight. The correct answer is Southeast Asian. Y'all got it right. And that's him.
Okay.
I thought he kind of pulled it off.
I
would not have assumed that was a dude. You know?
And somebody in the chat said the biometrics, that's when they do like eye and fingerprints.
Man, I know he was nervous as fuck when they pulled out that eye scanner.
I don't know if they do height and weight. Somebody said height and weight. So
the fact that they
no, wait, that's her?
Yeah, that's her.
Oh well.
Man, I'm not saying he looks like her. I'm just saying if you didn't know. Yeah. But check out the ID, y'all. He made the fake ID with his face.
I mean, you know, he did all the work except study.
Yeah,
all the work except study.
I still say marry him, sis. Okay, you're not gonna find another man that love you like this.
At least in Catch Me If You Can, the niggas study for the bar exam. Come on.
Yeah. You ain't finding two of them though. I'm just saying.
They was like, well, what you can't lie, them eyes and them fingerprints, them don't match.
My man slated me for being too hairy and having more fuzz than him. So I gave up shaving and haven't used a razor in 5 years. A woman who hasn't shaved in 5 years has revealed how she dumped one of her flings for calling her too hairy. Esther Calixte Bia made the decision to stop shaving at 22, becoming tired of social norms stating that women have to be completely hair-free. Now 27 years old, she has revealed that having body hair makes her feel sexier than ever. She hasn't picked up a razor in 5 years in an attempt to embrace her fuzz, but it hasn't been met warmly by all of her dates. There was one time when I was seeing this guy who did make a comment saying that he wouldn't date a girl that's hairier than him, and I thought, how odd. I ended that relationship entirely because I didn't feel like that was productive or that I wanted to be with a man like that. Other than that, there have been plenty of men who have been okay with my hair. There was a guy who was really into me, and I had never told him about the fact I had chest hair. I decided to tell him because I kind of knew he was in love with me, so I thought that by telling him or showing him I have chest hair, he would stop liking me because I didn't like him. Once I showed it to him, he still liked me. I have never experienced that before. She decided to keep her body hair because she found it was growing back thicker whenever she removed it. My body hair became longer, thicker, darker, and blacker. I was going crazy. If I'm supposed to remove it, why is it growing back? And that's why I have.
Why is it growing back?
And that's why I've been taught since I was a kid, and now never question it because I have to remove my body hair simply because I'm a woman. But then I started questioning and realizing those ideas didn't come from me, but from society. She said she got bullied in school over her body hair as a young child. People call her Chewbacca from Star Wars and Ape. There was a moment in school where my friends had seen the hair on my stomach and remember their really exaggerated reaction that made me feel really insecure. When I got to high school, I remember seeing so many girls getting bullied or teased because they had hairy arms or body hair, so it made me shy and insecure. I was making sure nobody could see my body hair. So she says ditching the razor made her feel free, and she's happier today. So guess the race of Esther. What was her last name? Esther Calixte Bia. Hair?
Well, they called them ape, so they got to be black.
All right, Karen's going with black. What about you, Brandon?
Black or brown?
Yeah, I feel like I should recuse myself because I know the story.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah. So I know what the race is, but
Free space.
It's very unfortunate.
Latina, razorback and front Asian, couldn't be me black. Girl showed me them hairy titties. Latina, it's a trick. I don't know what that race is. Latina, probably Mexican. Frida Kahlo, great grandbaby. She's Latino. The correct answer is black. Karen, you got it right. And many of you missed it, but I appreciate y'all for being honest. The boo sound effect simply stopped playing and went to double dare music. All right, well, anyway. Boo! Y'all missed it. This is her. This is probably the dating profile pic, but this looks like when she used to shave. This is her like body pic, which is interesting because does she not grow hair on her face? And it's only her
certain parts of the
part
body.
of her body that grows.
Yeah, and some people do have that thing where when they cut their hair, like shave their hair literally grows back thicker every single solitary time. It gets thicker and darker, and they get more of it.
Somebody was bringing up that on my Facebook page when I shared this, they were like, she could have like PCOS or something, like she might need to check out, like she could have hormonal issues that aren't related to like forget the beauty standards, just having that much hair on
more testosterone or something like that. Yeah.
Like you might want to look into that
overgrowth. Yeah.
And that woman was a nurse, so calm the fuck down. I don't know what I'm talking about, but she does. All right, let's go to the final round. Okay, right now Karen is 2 for 2. Well, they're both kind of 2 for 2. Brandon
we got a free
himself.
space.
So here we go.
That bitch was white. I ain't racist. How can I be racist about anybody or anything in my life. How can I?
Call them niggas. Just call them niggas.
It's time to get
Gold teeth, gold chain wearing, fried chicken and biscuit eating, monkey ate baboon, big dive, fast running, high jumping, spear chucking, 360-degree basketball.
All right. A man 63 attacked in a Florida movie theater after asking a couple, a man 63 years old. He's 63. He was attacked in a Florida movie theater after asking a couple to move from his VIP seat. Says they just went to town on me as he reveals his injuries and cops appeal for help to find suspects.
They just went to town on me.
It's so like you walk in there and you be like, hey, somebody sit in my seat.
That's my biggest fear. That's why I stopped going to AMC and shit, because I'm not a big dude and niggas will always be in my seats.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I go get the attendant. I'm not confronting you. That's their job.
I'll absolutely get an attendant.
The attendant ain't much bigger than me out here.
Yeah, but at least they getting their ass whooped.
Yeah, they getting their ass whooped.
And when you getting your ass whooped as the attendant, I'm gonna pretend like I had nothing to do with it. I'm like, oh wow,
yeah, and they can, demand you get kicked out of the theater like that. They got shit that they can do that I don't have. I can't do.
A man who
they went to town on me. That's just the old saying. Like,
that's hilarious. You know that man's old.
He's 63. Yeah. But also, Brandon, this little shit like that's why we get along. Yeah. Honestly, that's the funniest part to me is that man saying that. A man who was beat down by a still at large suspect at a Florida movie theater last week has spoken out, revealing he sustained a broken nose during the filmed assault.
Oh no!
Not they caught it on film. Oh no. The incident happened at an AMC Pompano Theater in Pompano,
AMC,
and left the 63-year-old victim bloodied, hospitalized, and in stitches after he asked a much younger suspect to move from a seat for which he paid in advance. Yeah, this wouldn't happen at the Alamo Draft House. Footage filmed from another moviegoer. Also, shout out to that person not helping. Also showed the altercation in full and how the victim was then pounced on by the suspect and punched repeatedly while the others, including his wife, helplessly looked on.
Oh no, he got beat up in front of his spouse?
Yeah, bro. Man,
she probably holding a butter popcorn and stuff like, oh no.
Right. Oh, not blood in my popcorn.
Right.
He was just trying to watch the holdovers.
He's old too. Like, what the fuck she doing?
Now being used as part of a police investigation also shows how the victim at first approached his attacker in a civil manner and asked why he and his female companion were in his pre-booked VIP seats, but that was instead met with a violent assault. Now, I do want to see the video because I'm like, how you say civil, but what did you say? Like, did you walk up to them and be like, get out of my fucking seat, and then you got your ass whipped, or did you walk up and go, excuse me, please, kind sir, I want to know. Appearing in the video interview over the weekend, the victim who asked not to be named showed off some of the damage he sustained during the scare and revealed himself to be a disabled veteran. His assailant, meanwhile, remains at large. It happened so fast, he basically sucker punched me, told NBC Miami Friday, some 2 weeks after he and his wife purchased the tickets for the Insidious, The Red Door. So this has been a while ago.
Oh, God, he got beat up for that? That was coming on Max like 2 weeks later, bro. Just oh God.
He might not have time for Max.
He got
he might don't know how to get Max. You know that old man don't know how to stream. He talking about they went to town. You know that he don't know how to stream, Brandon.
And that's a PG-13 movie. He got beat up by some teenagers. That's what that means. He got fucked up. And then the movie is a pageant. It's so bad. That movie's terrible.
He said, I couldn't even. At least he didn't have to watch the movie, so he was spared.
He sure didn't have to watch the movie.
He said,
he had his own red door.
Right? Yeah. He said, "Ouch! This is Insidious." I couldn't even get a defensive shot in. He proceeded to recount the attack as he remembered it, which he said started when he and his spouse arrived at the theater to find a couple sitting in their seats. Speaking on the condition his face would be blurred, the victim described how he politely asked the two to move moments before the confrontation became physical and before another filmgoer whipped out a phone to record the attack. He went on to claim that after not being received well by the man, he gave up on the seats and started to look elsewhere. However, he said the conflict resumed when he continued to be mean mugged by the aggressor, who he recalled just kept staring. This guy just kept staring at me instead of getting up. I said to the people at this point, who didn't apologize or say thank you. I said, you guys can just keep the seat. Then as I'm walking away, he said, run to your wife, little boy.
Oh no. Man, oh man, this old man's going to become a militant. He's gonna be a problem.
So yeah, this is like the prequel to Falling Down, that movie with Michael Jackson.
Yeah, this ain't gonna be good. He gonna be in the news again.
So I turned around and I said, I'm not the one who's being a little boy. You took my seats and you didn't apologize and you didn't say thank you, and I let you keep them. At this point, the victim said the man became hostile. Another audience member began recording the violent assault. The victim recalled how he felt like a boxer backed against the rope during the surprise attack that ensued.
What's so fucked up about this story, yo, is that this is gonna be me in my late 60s. I mean, an old man that just wants to enjoy his movie, and I'm gonna get my ass beat by some teenagers in front of
in front of Tatiana. Run to your wife, little boy. You called a little boy.
I'm a short king.
I gave you my seats and you didn't say thank you. First of all, he took your seat. The fuck you mean you let him keep him?
See, that's why I say this would not be in a confrontation, because this has happened else before. Me, Roger Galata went to the movies, walked up there, and all the seats was full. I stared at them, they stared at me, so I walked my ass down there, and the people came up there and made them get the fuck up. Bitch, no, I paid for these. You should have got bitches move.
He says the attack ensued, during which he was shoved against a railing and then hung several feet over an exit aisle. He jumped up. He wanted to fight me. He backed me up. I fell over the stairs, and as soon as I fell down the stairs, it was like a boxer being against the rope. This guy just went to town on me.
Oh my God. Yo. Okay, so he had to say something, right? Because that's an ass beating. Like, the person followed you and kept whipping your ass around the theater.
Yeah.
Fuck his wife and whoever was with him for not doing anything to back him up.
The fuck I'm gonna do? Get my ass knocked out too?
Yeah, Karen's a ride.
No!
Karen's
just gonna watch.
She would absolutely watch me get beat up.
Oh, why he getting his ass whooped? I'll be on my way to security. Fuck that bullshit.
I know, but I already know I'm on my own, and I hope this man knew that when he walked in.
I am not ride or die. I am not that bitch.
Right. He also recalled how the man and his female companion, who are both seen in surveillance footage taken from the theater but have yet to be named by police, fled the theater immediately after, and how he was completely taken aback by the attack. I didn't think anybody would be stupid enough to actually start a fight like that in the movies. Well, that's your fault.
Mm-hmm.
I think about that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's just how I was raised. I always think somebody could get it popping no matter where I'm at.
Right.
Oh yeah.
And as somebody who's always a de-escalator, like the last thing I want to do is have a confrontation. So in my mind, I'm like, I didn't have shit to do with this in the first place. The fuck I'm getting in this for?
Okay, you can stop defending yourself. We know you're a coward. Just leave it alone. Just leave it alone. The audience knows it's hilarious. We're moving on. Adding that he was hospitalized after the incident to treat a broken nose and received unspecified stitches. The cops have since substantiated his account in an official release. They launched a hunt for the perpetrator. And I think that might be that. The subject got so close to the victim that it forced him to take a step back, ending up on the stairs in the aisle in the theater. It said as how the attacker moved toward the victim menacingly before. Oh, this is the police report. Mm-hmm. In the heated moment, the victim loses his balance and falls down the steps.
Surprising elder abuse.
The subject is then seen standing above the 63-year-old victim before repeatedly punching him in the face until witnesses rushed to the victim's aid and pulled him off. The subject and the adult female went on to leave the theater immediately after. So, man, they didn't even get to see the movie.
Nobody seen the movie.
So it kind of worked out for everybody that they didn't get to see the movie. I mean, at least that's the good part. So guess the race. I have the race of everybody here, but guess the race of the man who got punched. Karen?
Everybody's white.
Karen says everybody's white. All right, what about you, Brandon?
Yeah, I'm going with James Cromwell White. You know, because anyone that's going to see the Insidious red door above the age of 20 is an old white dude.
Okay. Let's see. God went to town on in 4K AMC, America's most cold-cocked white. So white. Some niggas did this though. Just finished yelling Jews will not replace us white.
Oh no, he has black pants too.
Only white people not embarrassed by going to the news to say how they got beat down. That's true. They interviewed him and wrote a play-by-play white. Heartbreak feels good in a place like this white. Magic Johnson Theater activities black, white as fuck. Sure, this wasn't in Oakland, black. Well, the correct answer is he was white. And some of y'all said that he was other races. Y'all got it wrong. He was white, but I don't have my boo sound effect. I have to find that. Let's see if I can make a new one. Does this one work? How about this?
Can hear that.
Starts out more aggressive. The
These motherfuckers mad as hell.
The other one slowly gets to this point. This one just starts off with booze.
So they blurred his face, but this is the white man that got beat up.
Oh, he wearing those shorts? Yeah, you got. Oh.
Hey, they went to town on him. Okay, he was not wrong.
Oh God.
Yeah. And then we have the people that went to town, which Karen said. She said everybody was white, but this is not white. These are people of color. These are DEI theater goers.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yes, they are. Yeah. They definitely DEI, and this is why you go get the attendant.
Yeah, that old McDonald had some tickets, and they went.
Man, that old white man, like, I got beat up in front of the woman with the big titties.
Right. No, son, not in front of my wife and the big titty woman. Why?
A double whammy.
All right, last thing we gotta talk about sword ratchetness and wrap the show.
Wait, real quick, can we just go back one more time to they really went to town on me? Because that means, in a way, he's kind of impressed by how much they beat him up.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
although this man has a low floor though, because he said he would never expect a fight to happen in a movie theater, and I'm like, man, you gotta recalibrate your societal expectations.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
I've never been in a movie theater and been like, it can't get popping in here, dog.
Oh yeah. Once they started doing assigned seating, I was like, every time I would go in that theater, I'm like, we might have to fight somebody.
Right. Like, hey, I hope everything's okay. You know what I mean? That Cedric the Entertainer joke. I wish a motherfucker would be in my seat. All right. Sword ratchetness, everybody. Last thing. No show tomorrow, by the way. We're going to the Hornets game.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I might be able to play I can play the news article for this one. Let me put it on screen for everybody. So
okay.
Watch it together. A naked man
sliced up.
A naked man with a sword pleads guilty to assault charges. I assume by the time he pled guilty, he had put on some clothes, though. Only thing that makes sense.
First, the Dayton Police Department released new information about the naked man wielding a sword in an East Dayton neighborhood.
This happened Tuesday on Suman Avenue. 2 police officers confronting that man, and they shot him. 2 News reporter Seth Bird was at that news conference that wrapped up just a few minutes ago. Now joins us live in Dayton with the latest on that incident. Seth.
The suspect who charged police officers from his home with a medieval sword has been identified as 34-year-old David Showalter. Officers did ask him to drop his weapon, but instead he raised it at them. Now we're about to show you the confrontation with police officers and Showalter. These images are graphic in nature, so viewer discretion is advised. Showalter can be seen unclothed and running towards officers Joshua Blankley and John Griffin after they go out of their vehicles. After Showalter got closer, he points the sword at the officers in an aggressive manner, and the officers responded by shooting him in his lower body area.
Let me tell you,
he was treated at a hospital and is in serious.
Number one, you know he's white because they shot him in the lower body. Like, we don't want to kill him.
Let's hit the leg.
Yeah, let's shoot him in the foot. You know, with us, they always just go straight for the body. They just straight kill us. Two, you never want to point the sword at the cops. You know, if you point the sword, it's like the same as pointing a gun, basically. They're gonna shoot you.
Condition from the gunshot wounds. The suspect does have a history of resisting arrest and not complying, as charges will be filed by the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office. The call was received around 5 p.m. and officers made contact around 5:08 p.m. before the incident escalated. Montgomery County Sheriff's Office is handling the criminal investigation, while Dayton Police work an internal investigation. Dayton Police Chief Cameron Asvel explains the department's policy when it comes to lethal force.
There's no option of not responding to this scene, right? You got to go, because that's what we're here for, to protect people from harm that's been committed by somebody else. So I think that's the standard. And then another standard is, again, Mr. Connor, is the force used was reasonable or not? Was it proportional? Was it necessary?
Asvel also said the training they've done the last year on time equals distance shows it's working, as this incident is really proving that. Live in Dayton, Seth Bird at 2 News.
All right, there you go. So be careful out there. You see a naked man running with a sword, call the police, run the other way, and hopefully he don't get shot in the torso or something, you know?
I treat this man just like I treat the movie theater people. They the same to me.
Yeah, y'all know you run away. Brandon, tell everybody where to run to so they can go to a theater experience where they won't have to worry about getting someone going to town.
Yeah, hopefully no one gets Yeah, hopefully no one gets stomped out. I mean, we're not gonna be showing Insidious Red Door, so at least you're gonna enjoy something.
It's funny that we're like, listen, you can go to a room full of drunk black people and you'll be safe.
Exactly.
You go to the theater to see Insidious, you're on your own.
I mean, you go to AMC in general, you on your own. So but Drunk Black History on Saturday, February 10th at Caveat NYC in New York City. If you're not in New York City, it's okay. We're going to have live streaming available, but tickets are available at drunkblackhistory.com and 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, showtime. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be talking about some unsung black heroes and events that had a huge impact on this country's history, as well as having a few drinks and learning at the same time. So again, drunkblackhistory.com for your tickets for Saturday, February 10th. And also the podcast is coming back. Launching on Friday, February 2nd on all podcast applications. Just look up Drunk Black History. And as always, y'all can follow me at Frodo_Blackens on Threads and Instagram. Thank you so much again for having me on, y'all.
No problem, man. Make sure y'all do all that stuff. We love you, bro. Anytime.
I love y'all too, man.
Always welcome to come by.
Yeah, anytime.
And yeah, man, just continued success. And I love the Tati. And yeah, like I told y'all, show notes. No show tomorrow. We won't have time to do it. We will be back throughout the week, though. So until next time, I love you.
I love you too.
Mwah. Bye, everybody. Bye, Brandon.
Bye,
Yes, sir.